Welcome back to the special edition episode of the Spideydude Experience. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host, and we are broadcasting mere hours after the release of Spider-Man No Way Home, the film that literally grossed $260 million at the opening weekend box office. Third all-time behind only the two most recent Avengers films. Folks, if you've not seen this show yet, I highly encourage you to do so. We'll try to keep the spoilers to a minimum here at the beginning as we get started, but then we'll get more into spoilers as we bring in all sorts of people. We got all sorts of guests tonight. We've got so many people that are going to be involved with the network, and I hope and trust that you will join us live here on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. YouTube.com/Spideydude Radio Network. Patreon page is patreon.com/Spideydude Network. We want to thank our patrons at patreon.com. Vinkman, Scott, Greg, and Jurgen, thank you for your participation and helping us continue to grow this channel. In 2021, we are so good being here, and I'm so appreciative of everybody's involvement. We've got every single person on that we've got on. Everybody that's been a part of this. It's a party. We're getting started. Hopefully you've watched it. And thanks for watching. Thanks for listening over the last year or so. It has been such an honor and a privilege to be out here on YouTube and Facebook. No Way Home review. We're going to have live callers here in a little bit. And if you want to call in, you can do it via the StreamYard link. Just send me a DM on Facebook or on Twitter, and I will send it to you. But you can also call in literally if you're in the continental U.S., or I think in Mexico and Canada as well. 818-925-6631. It's our voicemail line, but right now it is actually going to be our call-in line. So hopefully you guys will appreciate that. I am Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood webmaster and executive producer of the Spideydude Radio Network. I am joined by my wife, Sarah. That's right. Sarah is making an appearance in this episode because she got to see it with me. We went and watched it at 11 p.m. opening night. That's right. So, yeah, we'll talk about that experience here in a bit. But, of course, I want to introduce my man in the chair himself, Neil Bogenreiter.
Hi, I was supposed to be there with them, but because work, I wasn't. And because other things, I will only be available for commentary for the first, 30 minutes, I think?
Yeah, I think so. You've got
RIP to Neil in the chat.
I've got the last session of a 4-year-long D&D campaign.
The final one of the campaign.
Yeah.
So, next up, I want to add our good friend Tyler. Tyler Crone. How are you, sir? You're not Neil Bogenreiter.
You're muted, by the way.
Oh, you're muted. I have to unmute you.
Oh, wait. There we go.
There we go.
How you doing, Zach?
Oh, man, it's so good to have you on, man. It's this is your first time on any. I think other than doing a call-in show, you haven't done any of our shows. So just you jumping on to talk about Spidey is always fun, and
of course.
So thanks for being a part of it.
Yeah, I've been definitely a fan of you, and we've been friends on the internet for a while, so it seemed like the right time.
Nice. Well, you're welcome on anytime, man. Anytime you want to be on. So always welcome. All right. Oh, thanks, honey. Next up, we got Greg. He has a little tag. Greg Mashansky, host of Voices from the Area Gargoyles podcast. You can find that on your favorite podcasting catchers. Available also on Spidey-Dude.com. Welcome, Greg. And I can't hear you.
Because you muted him.
I muted him.
He muted himself.
Oh, I can't unmute you there, Dashansky.
Zach. No good deed goes unpunished.
I know.
Uh-oh.
That's a Gobbled reference.
I know.
All right. Hopefully my aunt doesn't randomly die. Anyway, moving on.
Oh my God! You're the one who makes. You're the one who gets mad when I make gallows jokes. What the hell is wrong with you?
Are you kidding me? You just had an aunt die.
I know.
Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. My wife's gonna yell at me now. So you guys get to hear this live on air.
Here, Zach, mute yourself. Old Javi and Jack introduce themselves.
Yeah. Hi, Javi.
Oh, right. Hi.
Hi. Hang
I
on.
wasn't-
Okay, so Zach.
I
So
was,
Zach's.
I was expecting more of an intro.
Okay, so these two fine gentlemen that you're seeing on your screen right now, they are the hosts of season 2 of Amazing Spider-Man Classics. Welcome, Jack. Welcome, Javi.
Hello.
Is that better?
Thanks for having us on, guys.
All right.
Gosh, Holly and Jack deserve more than that, dude.
Dude, I am...
Do we have any sound effects?
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome, Hobby. Love y'all.
Do we have like
Oh,
a
you
do we
do.
have like a cheering sound effect, like like the grunt birthday party? Yay!
Hang on. You say that. Welcome to
we go.
Javi and Jack. There you go.
There we go. Okay, Zach, mail me the soundboard. I'll handle this from now on.
No, it's more like this. Yeah, that was what that was. Oh,
Okay.
I'm sorry. You can't see Sarah because we're in the boxes, but let's
Here.
do this.
There, I
There we
fixed
go. Okay, yeah, we're on widescreen. So for those of you watching us on YouTube, which we got a few people watching, hello. Hey to Vinkman, he says, "Yay, Sarah's here." Soflo says, "Hello, Sarah. Great movie," and talks about how getting the party started. Oh,
hey, we've got our 6 man and the 6 in the Rangers. Let's go. Hi.
nice. He is the Tommy Oliver of this episode. AKA Cool Youth Pastor himself, Adam Shingle. Welcome, Adam.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Welcome.
So, yeah. So we got the 6 of. We got the 6 of us here. So let's talk a little bit about just what is everybody's grades. Let's go around the horn. Get this off the top. Give a letter grade. I'll start with my wife because she's so excited.
A triple plus.
There we go.
Okay.
This was her. All right, Neil, I'm going to do you last because I already know your letter grade. And you're going to be the
Okay.
you're going to be the negative. All right, Greg, next up. What's your letter grade? A minus. Tyler?
I'll go A to A minus, depending. Yeah, kind of waffling back and forth at the moment.
Okay. Adam?
Yeah, I think it's a minus kind of deal with me too.
Javi and Jack?
I say A. I'm going to go A plus.
Oh.
Yes.
All right. All right, Neil. Negative Nancy over here.
B plus.
Now you need the womp womp womp.
If that's as
Oh,
low as
what
we
the
go,
fuck?
then the movie's in for a good evening.
B plus, such a low score. I mean,
It's such a
yeah.
low score. It's like
such a low score for a Spider-Man movie.
Right.
I'm giving
Neil's
lower
coming in here
to
like this. Just blowing everything up.
If we're talking cinema score, B plus is like death. So
Yeah, well, I'm
Dude.
not cinema score, Hobby, so you're wrong.
Speaking of cinema score, it did get a plus cinema score, which is the first time a Spidey film has achieved that feat since they started doing this. So I think
I wonder
that's
why.
200, as I mentioned in the intro, $260 million at the box office. Insane amount of money.
In 2 days. Three, sorry.
Yeah, 3.5 days, really. Because I mean, let's be honest. When did everybody go see it? I saw it Thursday night at 11 p.m. As I adjust my mic.
I saw it Sunday. After I got home from work, my mom was like, "Hey, you want to go see a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." She hadn't seen Far From Home or Homecoming, so it was fun in the theater. I was explaining to mom, "Okay, so here's what Mysterio did in the last movie, and here's how it ties into all of this." She actually had. We'll get into it later, but she basically went into this movie completely blind. I had to explain everything to her.
Did that hinder your enjoyment of it, though?
Actually, I think it might have enhanced it because that meant I had to get more invested in the story in order to explain. Oh, okay. So I guess Greg just got a poster of ASM 122.
I mean,
Sure.
Nice flex there, Bishansky.
Hero, if we're flexing, boom.
Oh yeah. Who got that for you?
You and Javi. You each got me one. I'm still gonna figure out which one is which and which one is the other one.
Oh, forgot that Javi got you one. That's right.
No, I had it here, and then
them.
like you came in and brought the Hawkspox Cyclops figure, and I'm like, well, I've already got Javi's, and then I accidentally mixed them up, and I'm like, okay, which one is which?
Oh no. Oh no.
Technically, I grabbed it.
I mean, one of them is up there. So
One of them's on the wall.
It looks good either way.
Either way, yeah. I mean,
good flex.
Nice flex. But
check out those dubs.
So when did you get? Okay, so Greg, when did you see it?
Saturday at 1:45.
Tyler?
Friday evening, about 7.
Friday at 7. Okay. Adam?
Saturday at noon.
Okay. Saturday at noon. Javi, you've seen it multiple times, I think?
We saw it Friday at 7, and then we went today at 11 to see it in Dolby Cinema.
Ooh. Alamo Drafthouse both times?
No, Drafthouse doesn't have Dolby Cinema.
Okay.
They're not like certified for that theater with the Atmos and everything. So we slummed it at the AMC so Nicole Kidman could tell us how great AMC was.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Oh no, an AMC. What a degenerate site for movie going.
Okay.
Okay. As someone who did go to Alamo when I was in Austin for college, yeah, you kind of get spoiled by Alamo Drafthouse.
I was gonna say, like, Alamo Drafthouse is like God tier.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I went to see No Way Home at Star Cinema, which is like up the road from in Conroe. So Zach, one day you and I could go watch a movie in Star Cinema.
We tried. We tried.
Neil.
Hi.
Hi, Neil's mom.
Did your mom like the movie? I want to know.
Were her ears burning?
No, she was like, turn it down.
Oh, we're too loud. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Mom.
Seriously, what was her letter grade?
Sorry, Neil.
Hey, Mom, what was the letter grade for a movie you've never seen before? Cool.
There you go.
Hey, we got Comic Binge. Hey, Paul. He might jump in here in a little bit. We'll be having people come in and rotating on. I think the 7th chair will have some rotating people. So, Vinkman said he saw it today.
Good.
That's Sveen. Will be some good background audio while he makes some art. He almost missed it, but he was reminded. Thanks. That's because he's a subscriber. If you're a subscriber on YouTube or Facebook, guess what? You were told we were going to be going live. So share this with your friends. We got a couple people on Facebook and a few people on YouTube. So Vinkman gave it a B plus. SoFlo gave it an A. If other people have grades, be sure to put them in the chat, and I will pull them up. So thanks for watching, everybody. But yeah, no, I saw it 11 p.m. Thursday night because I knew that spoilers would be ahoy. I'm trying not to go too spoilery here in the early part of the episode, just because I don't want people to jump on and not have the spoiler alert. But my overall thoughts was that this may be the best Spidey film since Spidey 2. Since the second Raimi film.
Live action?
Live action, yeah.
Live action.
Okay, I was about to say Spider-Verse.
I mean, Spider-Verse, yes. And I get it. We include it in all our rankings and stuff like that because Spider-Verse is, it is a Spidey film. But yeah, like live action, it's the best. If we're not talking live action, it's the best since Spider-Verse. I'm sure John Semper will start ranting about that too. Oh, did I say that out loud? Oops.
You already did.
I created Willem Dafoe.
Praise be to John Semper. He created us all.
Yeah. Oh man, I made a joke about it earlier
I probably
today.
wouldn't be a Spider-Man fan without that '90s show. So in a sense, you're kind of right.
I mean, look, I agree with that, and like that sentiment that he made today on. So for those who don't know, he kind of made a post about there's a lot of people that became Spidey fans because of the '90s show, and he takes a semblance of pride that so many people became Spider-Man fans because of the '90s show, and I get that, and I'm one of those. I am part of that. However, trying to sit there and take credit for things that you didn't do is where I get a little annoyed. And I understand his parlance to take credit for the Spider-Verse thing because technically he was the first one.
So in one of the few give yous I will give Slot, he popularized Spider-Verse as a concept.
I mean, yeah. Well, and he made I mean, Zipper had a pretty detailed post about it today, talking about the similar.
Can you send it to me?
Yeah, I can. I'll send you the link. Because it really, I can't when he lays it out the way he does, I can understand what he's saying. It's when he starts making,
those connecting the dots that no one would really associate with being connected.
Yes, exactly. Move that. And so I'll find it. I'll find the post. While we're doing that, let's go around the horn. Kind of give your basic thoughts. Let's start with Greg. Greg, what's your basic thoughts?
I loved it, and at first I had very low expectations. You've heard me say I thought they were chasing that Oscar for Into the Spider-Verse, and I didn't enjoy the last one. I mean, I was okay with Homecoming. I had quibbles with it. Then it was quibbles quadrupled with Far From Home. So a week ago I had very low expectations, and then I started seeing people whose Spider-Man opinions I respect, who were down on the last films, also say that this one was good. So I allowed myself to get hyped up a bit more, and it exceeded my expectations. I loved it.
Tyler, kind of general thoughts without going into spoilers yet?
Without going into spoilers, I think that this is definitely one of the best Spider-Man live-action movies ever. I will say with the caveat of you have to be willing to have, 20 years of appreciation for the character and the other films that have come out to fully appreciate the film.
Mm-hmm.
But it is fantastic if you are willing to put in that.
I noticed a lot of people that were watching the other three films. I'm going to ask this question. I think I already know the answer, but how many of us were spoiled prior to the film being released? Those previous films were going to tie in, besides what we've seen in the trailer.
Well, okay, so hang on.
I heard rumors everywhere
about
it.
So I unfortunately I go on 4chan, the degenerate that I am. So, no, but this is important that there was a bunch of different leaks posted, and it's you got a dozen convicts lined up. You get one bullet to shoot. You hit one of them. One of them's gonna be the right one.
Right.
And eventually, someone got the right leak out, and unfortunately, I ate crow on saying that they were fake. So
there were.
I mean, if anybody's
I was surprised, some of those leaks
if anybody,
were real.
If anybody's listened to this show, we've had cautious optimism when it comes to those leaks, and damn near from the big ones, a lot of them were proven right. So if you're aware of those leaks and you haven't seen the film, sorry, you've been kind of and right now it's everywhere. I mean, everywhere right now. If you go on Twitter right now, it's pretty much everything on my Twitter feed is Spider-Man. There is nothing else but Spider-Man right now. It is the one topic that people are talking about. Somebody who didn't know that I kind of gave a little bit of a hint to was this one. And the entire time in the theater, she's like, "Where's Toby? Where?"
You weren't supposed to spoil.
Oh, oops! Oh, I just did it. My bad.
Okay, so let's be honest though. Is anyone who's watching this not already seen the film?
I mean, I'm assuming you have, but let's be real. I
mean, Venkman was the one.
Right now.
Venkman was the one person that I knew hadn't seen it before we recorded. But
right, yeah, he saw it today.
He has now.
Yeah, that's my point. Is that at this point we might as well just cut into the spoilers.
Yeah.
I mean, we did get
before.
We
Well,
did go 20 minutes without spoilers, so I say that's a good thing.
That's pretty
Can
good.
I please just say, I told you so.
No, I will willingly
No
eat
one's-
crow on this. I legitimately
I
thought
told
that
all of you so.
no, but I'm just saying that like I was very convinced that like the rumors were just interference for what I thought was going to be another Sony schlock fest.
Yeah.
I was proven very, very wrong.
See what happens when one person holds out hope. A miracle happens.
Okay, so let's be fair, and I'll let her explain it more. Tobey Maguire is like her Spider-Man. Like that's the Spider-Man she grew up on. So, like how the '90s show is like Christopher Daniel Barnes' voice is my Spider-Man. Him and Josh Keaton, depending on what I'm reading. For her, it's Toby. So
And Andrew. Andrew's more like my teenage, the emotion of Gwen dying angst,
all right, so we're getting in full on spoilers. Let's just go. All right,
I
I'm
will
gonna
say
let
this. Those people on Twitter that are like, if they're not in it, I'm giving everyone who likes and retweets this $1,000. It's like they're pretty happy right now that they're not.
right. I went ahead and liked and retweeted it just cause I was like, you know what? I'm gonna hedge my bets. I'm pretty sure they're in the film, but I don't care. Like, if I can make it easy grand, I'm fine. Hey,
Liar.
I did it.
So to this movie's credit, it doesn't need them. Not necessarily in terms of plot, but like the movie was good even without them, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like one of my worries going in was that they brought in all of the Raimi villains and the what do we call them, the web villains,
Yeah.
with not a whole lot of substance to it aside from just being nostalgia pandering. I was joking this would be the Ready Player One of Spider-Man films. In some ways, I don't think I am wrong, but it certainly has a lot more substance to the nostalgia than something like Ready Player One, where it's just soulless. Remember this? I remember this franchise. Yeah,
I think the nostalgia in this movie it can be very indulgent, but it's earned and it does have heart to it.
Yeah.
I just thought that it was good, not from the nostalgia standpoint, but in my opinion, my wife and I just done a full rewatch of all the Spider-Man movies before going to see this, just in case. And in my opinion, it tied up a lot of threads that those previous franchises left open and enhanced them for me, rather than just oh, they're here to look and smile and make money. Like,
yeah,
Exactly.
Javi, Jack, what do you guys think?
I went into this with like managed expectations.
Right.
Like after like watching the trailers, I thought that was like pretty much it, and I was just like, okay, this looks cool. It'll probably be a good time. So when we went into it, I was just like, okay, we've pretty much seen everything that I thought we would see.
Mm-hmm.
But I was very much delightfully surprised. Like as soon as Andrew came on, my hands were just like,
yeah.
like,
Javi, were you there clapping with him?
Oh, in Thor Ragnarok, when he's in the arena and the Hulk bursts out.
Oh, and Jeff Goldblum starts,
and he just has that
Yes
moment. That was literally me in the theater when Andrew first appeared. I yelled out loud, and it was so loud at that moment that
wow.
I mean it was just overwhelming.
Can I just say that American audiences are animals? Some people miss like 2 minutes worth of film because they're too busy cheering, and everyone in like I've seen some of my friends from the UK and Switzerland go like, you people are absolute feral hogs.
My theater was fairly restrained, but there were some, like when Andrew and the other guy and the other guy, the lawyer guy.
Oh, dude,
up,
I straight marked out.
People responded to that.
Dude, I was the guy in the theater that was like freaking out over Charlie Cox, and she's like, "What?" Like Sarah's over here going, "What's?" I'm like, "No, this is a big deal. Like, it's fucking Daredevil." Like,
Dude,
gah!
Watch Hawkeye, everybody.
I don't care, Sarah. We're here. We're going ham to the wall.
I'll give it an E on the freaking audio version.
So there is one con I had, and it's a kind of a big one. It's why my grade isn't like in the A tiers. It's the cinematography. In the action scenes, it's fairly vibrant. There's not a whole lot of variety to the action scenes in terms of camera work, but they're still fairly dynamic. But like in the slower scenes, the cinematography is really, really bland. I kind of wish they'd taken in more advantage. Like, we've got like pandemic cameras now. We've had to work around this. So take advantage of that. But like the scene where Toby and Andrew come through the portals was so like lamely shot, and that was kind of like they just opened the portal. Oh, he's there, and it's like, well, that was kind of lame actually. Like them being there was cool.
Leave it to Neil to take a movie a grade down because of the colors.
It wasn't colored.
If you're a listener of this program, you know how big Neil is about his colors.
I mean, colors do make a difference, man. Bad coloring can really downplay great art.
He's soloing himself for no reason.
I want you to know how I feel.
Greg,
I'm gonna go play Dungeons and Dragons. I'll be back later.
Okay, bye, buddy.
Bye, Neil.
So, okay, Greg.
F in the chat for Neil.
It's F in the chat for Neil. So my question for you, for like Greg and everybody around the panel, how was the theater experience? Was there a lot of reaction? Was there, hooping and hollering? Was there people being savages, as Neil so eloquently said?
My audience was very well behaved. There were cheers, but the cheers came at the right moments. The first big cheer was when the pumpkin bomb dropped and you heard the cackling. The second big cheer was when Andrew came through the portal and took off his mask. And then the third cheer, the biggest cheer, was when Toby came through. And then there was another big cheer when all three Spider-Men were swinging around the Statue of Liberty together.
Yeah.
And there was a big collective gasp, and the theater went silent during the scene. You know which one.
So, yeah. Tyler, what was the theater reaction for you?
Oh, yeah, it was pretty much the same. There were a few cheers here and there during earlier parts of the film, but once, it was a full round of applause there once the previous Spider-Man stepped through.
Yeah. Youth Pastor Peter. The bad thing is I don't have everybody's names up right now because I've got to change that in settings, but hang on. Nope, I can't do it. I don't. But like everybody's names, like mine is Sarah and Zach. Tyler's. Greg's got his Greg XP, but then like you got Adam, who's cool youth pastor over here. You didn't dress like a cool youth pastor though.
I don't really have. Well, actually, I could grab my Christmas sweater and put it on.
Jack Hobby, what was your theater experience like? I know it's Alamo, so like it's a little different than most.
It was really enthusiastic. I think, it's when you say Alamo, like it's not like you have to be completely church silent. It's just you have to be respectful. No phones out. No having a conversation unrelated to the movie, that kind of thing. But I mean, you're allowed to get excited and pumped up, and it really was for our Alamo experience. There was a vibe. There was something in the air because, like, usually they do have a pre-show before the movie starts,
right,
to get you psyched for what you're going to see. We saw ads for old toys. We saw a clip of the '70s show.
Oh, that's cool.
The 80s cartoon.
Something about
our friend Brian would be very.
Yeah. Then they did a whole like No Way Home like recap, starting with Spider-Man 1 and going through all the movies leading into the start of the show. And usually sound is not a problem. People are coming in, placing their orders. There was such a buzz going on that it was hard to hear the pre-show for once. Like there's there was like a vibe and there was like a noise that we haven't been around in a long time. So that just carried through during the movie. Like there's just this excitement and this energy. And surprisingly enough, like Toby didn't get the big cheer. It was Andrew whose arrival got more applause, whether that's, people are on the Garfield train right now, or he showed up first, or he was in costume, and Toby we haven't seen in the big screen in a while.
Right.
So maybe it wasn't as apparent. But even when we went today, which was like 2/3 of the way full, like the applause was still there, but it still seemed to heavily favor Andrew more than Toby. It was just, like Friday night's dial was turned down a few notches.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was a day show, not as full.
Right. Sarah?
Okay, so first from the man in the chair, it was some of Dopey's best as the Goblin. Dafoe as the Goblin. Sorry. The look he has during most of his Goblin persona scenes show how fantastic he is with a script tailored to him cutting loose. You're welcome, man in the chair. Also, I don't care. I didn't care about anything else. I sat there and Green Goblin came on and I was like, this is it. This is the moment that I have been waiting for 3 months. I held on to this small sliver of hope after my husband preached at me that there's no way in hell it's ever going to happen.
Me. I was that guy.
So I'm sitting there and I see the Green Goblin and I'm like, okay, where's Toby? Andrew came out, everybody got excited, and I'm pretty sure, because I was excited, I cheered, I clapped. But once I saw Toby, I'm pretty sure I was the very first person to scream, and the entire theater heard me, and then everybody else screamed, and then I cried.
Yeah, she was in tears. She was crying.
Because for me, it was such this moment of things can come back full circle. And it was just very beautifully done, regardless of what Neil says. I think it was beautifully done. Thank you very much.
Neil's Debbie Downer over here. And Neil's working behind the scenes. So he won't be on the rest of the episode. But so if you guys want to jump on, you've got those that had the link, you can jump in.
Okay, to add to what Neil said about Dafoe and his performance here, we've been saying for 20 years that his real face was scarier than that mask ever was. And the motherfucker went and proved it beyond our wildest dreams.
Yeah. I do wanna be the mask apologist. I always thought that mask was cool as a Green Goblin mask. Now his in this movie without the mask, he's terrifying. He looks like a fucking maniac. And it's awesome.
Yeah,
I did make some goblin ass jokes though, for those of you who understand that reference.
Yeah, she did make a goblin ass reference. It's a meme. It's goblin ass. Anyway,
have we talked about Norman yet?
We're talking about Norman. We're talking about Norman right now, man in the chair.
Can I just say, I think he might be the single best part of the movie.
He absolutely is.
Here's the thing,
no doubt, man.
Here's the thing about the MCU, or here's the thing about Willem Dafoe in this movie. I know it's rare for the MCU, but Willem Dafoe is a genuinely talented actor.
I read your thing.
Thank you, Sarah. Jokes aside, Dafoe is insanely charismatic, and every line feels like he kind of just picked up right where he left off. And I'm not sure how after not 20
years,
but
18 years.
After 18 years.
The first movie came out in 2002, guys.
Yeah, next year's 20th anniversary.
It's amazing. It's amazing because his plan is just to fly around and throw bombs at people. It's totally unhinged, and Dafoe really carries that But
if we don't get a
but
Marvel Legend of that version of the Goblin, I will be so
toys.
sad.
But it's very
We're
impressive. But it's very impressive how simple and appropriate he is in terms
Agreed.
of just picking up where he left off in the first film. And I kind of wish we'd seen more of him in broad daylight because the purple accents on his suit are perfect.
I've been saying that also. A little purple on that costume went a long way to break up that solid green.
The Power Ranger armor got broken up a little bit. Yeah.
We do have our first live caller, and
okay, I'll dip for a bit so you can have him on.
Okay. Bye, Neil. FSU Spider fan Adam S. How are you doing, buddy?
Good. Can you hear me?
Adam.
We can hear you. Welcome to the show. What's your grade, right quick?
I'm pretty much an A+.
The one that just dipped out of here, Neil, he's been our negative Nancy at a B+. So, we've all been around A. I didn't give my grade, did I? I give it an A-. Actually, my wife's divorcing me now. But yeah, welcome to the show, Adam. We're talking about the Goblin. Tyler, jump in here. What do you think? And then I'll jump over to Adam.
I mean, I think you guys have said most of what needs to be said. He was one of the best parts. His face was very emotive. You could tell he's a great actor. I think my favorite bit is I had a friend on Facebook who was putting out totally real Spider-Man spoilers. So it was stuff like Doctor Strange was Mephisto the whole time. So was Spider-Man. So was Aunt May. Everybody's Mephisto. But one of his ones he put out was it turns out Willem Dafoe actually ends the movie as Willem the Friend.
We got Adam S and Adam S. So Shingle, youth pastor. What are your thoughts on? We have two Adam S's for the first time ever. So, youth pastor, what's your thoughts on the Goblin?
Like I said, he's terrifying. He's having a blast. I was excited to see him because I know Donovan was really hyping up him and Molina's performances, and I was like, okay, I'm really excited to see what they do with their returns. Right. And yeah, I thought he nailed it. He's on when he's being the Goblin and he's just being totally terrifying and evil. I just have this grin on my face the whole time. I'm like, this is it. this is
the Goblin that we wanted all along.
Yeah.
He smashed the Green Goblin Power Ranger mask.
Yeah.
And I did like that Greg posted this in Discord, and I had noticed this before. I did like the parallel with Spider-Man No More with it's like the inverse, different sides, and the mask is broken and he's running away, whereas Toby threw the costume in the trash and he walks away in the rain. And that was a great little nod to that, I thought.
Other Adam 2, Adam 1 technically in my life. You're the first Adam, but what's your thoughts, Adam?
As far as Green Goblin, I mean, that was amazing. Like he did a great job. He wasn't hampered by having that mask on for most of the time, which was a great correction. I mean, I love the first Spider-Man movie, but that was always my problem with it. Is like you've got Willem Dafoe's face, which is a goblin in itself, right? And you cover it up with that green mask, and it's like they could have just painted it green in the first movie and it'd been fine. Or not, as we saw in this, you didn't even need to paint it green. Just keep it the way it is. Give him a little purple hoodie, and he's all good to go. Yeah. My biggest complaint with the movie is I wish I hadn't been spoiled on the fact that these extra characters. It all comes down to what's his name who plays Dr. Octopus?
Molina.
If he hadn't spoken up in an interview and just blabbed that he was in the movie, I think they were going to keep all this secret, and they were just going to have the previews be basically, him dealing with being unmasked, and it would have just blown my mind seeing that in the theater and all that showing up. But and even the appearance by Daredevil, I was like, I saw this coming. I'm like, it's great, it's amazing, but at the same time, I'm like, man, I just wish I'd had more surprise with it. Now Aunt May, that was a surprise. I wasn't expecting
Legitimately, that was because I had seen I was watching the Hasbro Legends Fan First Thursday that they had the day that the everything debuted, and the reason we're not talking about it today is because nothing of Spider-Man was of note. So that's why I was like, I'll see what happens, and then they nothing. I was like, you have every opportunity to like tease some Spider-Man stuff on the day No Way Home comes out, and you're like, no. But somebody had a fake spoiler that Happy dies. And I was like, oh man, I really hope Happy doesn't die, and not even thinking about it being Aunt May. If I have a con, I just wish we would have gotten a passing mention by Holland Spidey that there was an Uncle Ben. Like, I
think there is. They just haven't. The thing is, okay, this is the thing about Uncle Ben. There's an Uncle Ben, and we know this from Civil War, but he just didn't tell him great power, great responsibility, and that it's interesting with what they end up doing in this movie, because they actually say, the real line at the end of Amazing Fantasy 15.
Right.
But the thing is Uncle Ben saying great power, great responsibility is such a retroactive thing that I guess only really started in the 80s, right? I think with the Spider-Man Wolverine thing.
This is where I wish I had Josh here.
I think
it was originally the narrator that did it.
Yeah. It was originally the narrator in Amazing Fantasy 15, and then it gets attributed to Uncle Ben later, I think in Spider-Man Wolverine. But I feel like this time they flipped it up by like, oh yeah, like, well, our Uncle Ben didn't say it because he technically didn't say it originally, maybe is what they were going for. Maybe that wasn't what they were going for. And they decided this time, like, oh, well, we're going to have Aunt May say it, and it's going to be the true line, and flip it up and do what they did. I mean, I still think Uncle Ben died because Peter failed to act, and hence the Civil War quote that he tells Tony. And
it'll be interesting to see how much of that's addressed in freshman year, whenever that comes out. So Javi, Jack, what are your thoughts on Aunt May passing away? And with that, my wife dips out. Say goodnight to the wife.
Night, sir.
They said all that.
I'm going to get the dogs.
Okay, she's going to go deal with my
all right.
The
so kind of tying this in with Willem Dafoe.
Yeah.
To me, the Green Goblin, Spider-Man's #1 villain. Sorry, Doc Ock fans, but that's how it is for me. And I thought Dafoe did a magnificent job in the first 3 movies. But thinking about it, he doesn't really do a whole lot to earn the villain status for Maguire. Like, yes, he threatens MJ, but she doesn't die like Gwen. All the tortures that he's put Spider-Man through in almost 60 years of comics, it's not there on the screen. That's something that we as fans bring into it.
Mm-hmm.
But with this movie, he makes it very personal. He gets that goblin status when he does what he does and is involved in the death of Aunt May. Like, that's his, Gwen Bridge moment for real with a live action Spider-Man. And it immediately makes like this great connection. And very personal for Tom Holland's Peter to have to deal with now. And so I was talking to my friend Nico about this today. Shout out to the Italian Spider-Man Coalition. That I mentally bring so much of like the Stan Lee and Ditko and Romita era to Dafoe's performance, because of the way that he was homaged in the first movie. The style that Raimi brings to it is very throwback, like very 60s Marvel, very, Three Stooges, old-timey movie comedy, that I just attributed all that history in my head to him. But now it's here like on screen, and it made it so much more impactful for me that he is not just Spider-Man's greatest villain, but I mean, he is top tier MCU villain now by virtue of the fact of being in this universe.
Yep.
I have a lot to add to all that.
Greg, let Jack jump in, and we'll have Greg go next.
So we just started reading all the original issues and stuff. So I'm not well versed in Aunt May's death as I am with Uncle Ben. So it came as like a huge shock for me to see her pass on like that. And I feel like that's one of the big moments of the film, is seeing Aunt May die and seeing how there's consequences to Peter's actions. Because usually it's just like, oh, he's dealing with whatever Tony Stark villain is left over. But I still like those
This
movies,
is different,
but,
yeah.
just to finally get something, a personal thing to fight for, and to have that vengeance, which builds up into the climax of the film, just, I don't know, it hit for me.
Very well said.
I think in a different way for you too, because while I found it shocking, like this isn't my first Aunt May death. Like I was there when Amazing Spider-Man 400 came out. So granted, this is a totally different situation. But I don't know, like I wasn't upset about it. Like I was like, oh, okay, this sucks. And it was really moving and I was surprised. Like that whole scene, the tension is so palpable in that. And once she like kind of backed out and you saw Defoe's face and her starting to get stuff, I got a really bad feeling sinking in that something awful was going to happen in that scene.
I wish Sarah was still in here because I literally screamed "finally" in the theater whenever she said the words. So
the correct words.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, just the fact that
It's
they
the
even
true
said
quote.
it. The fact they even said, with great power, there must come great responsibility. The fact that that was finally uttered is, it's about bleeping time. I know we've already dropped 3 F-bombs this episode. I don't care. But,
fine.
Greg, what's your thoughts? I told you you were going next.
Well, I was thinking about a conversation we had. Granted that we recorded it a week ago, but it's not going to go up until February. We were discussing these master villains, these arch enemies, some who don't cross lines because they don't want to create, say, an injustice situation where the hero decides to just destroy them, whereas Norman on a regular basis does cross that line. That's part of his character as Spidey's arch enemy. And for years I thought that even though he was good in the first movie, some of his teeth were robbed by not being able to kill off Mary Jane at the bridge right then and there. And I get why they didn't do it. It's his first movie. We just watched Uncle Ben die an hour and a half ago. And I kept thinking of ways they could have done that, just have him cross the line. And one of them was he should have hurled a pumpkin bomb at those people who were throwing things at him. But it didn't go in that direction, even though I think the Goblin would have done that gleefully.
That probably would have made it an R-rated film.
Yeah, I will say this.
But
you bring that up.
And then
go ahead.
We get to this movie and we finally get there. He not only crosses the line, he drives a Mack truck over the line. He can't even see the line anymore. The line is completely erased.
There is no line.
What he does best. And that scene, you're talking about the tension there. I'll admit, for a moment when you first see the glider hit May in the back, and then she gets up a moment later, for a moment I'm thinking, oh, another MCU fake out death. Then I start watching Marissa Tomei's performance, and I realize, holy crap, she's in shock. And and that feeling of dread before she finally falls down.
With her eyes open. Like, it's very rare that you see a character die on screen with their eyes open.
Yeah.
That's always bothered me as a kid. I've seen it in real life, and it's a completely different vibe, and it's unsettling to see that. And usually, when
especially
you see
the
someone
tear.
dead, their eyes are closed, and it gives them like a semblance of peace. But that's not what happened.
Tony Stark died with his eyes open too, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he did. And again, in both cases, I mean, the theater, there was people like sobbing at that moment. And
I was very emotional.
I was far less emotional than my wife. My wife was a blithering mess at that scene.
Yeah, they really twisted the knife. And now, less than a few days after this movie comes out, people are already beginning to reevaluate the best MCU villains. And there's a legitimate debate out there over whether or not Dafoe's Goblin tops Thanos.
Yeah, Nick. I almost called you Nick Spencer. Adam. Adam. Your thoughts on Aunt May's death?
I mean, it was very emotional. We've seen Aunt May die so many times in so many formats. With the original death in the comics, and then coming back, and it turns out it was a actress, clone, whatever
genetically
she was,
genetically
altered.
Yeah.
Who signed on to get killed?
GMO actress.
Me and Josh were making jokes about that the other night. Like, how do you do the casting process? Do you just go to like nursing homes, like terminal nursing homes, and be like, okay, you look close enough to my, arch enemy's aunt that you're going to be cast in this role? And
die in this role.
That's twisted.
I mean, I guess he donated a bunch of money to her relatives. Like once you pass, you fulfill your obligation.
Can you imagine the funeral?
$10 million to your nephew, who's not Peter Parker. Whoever it is.
Can you imagine the
good
funeral?
Guy Norman ?
Like in between the panels, like you have Peter like walking around being like, "Oh, Aunt May helped out so many people from their boarding house," and you have this whole family that shows up and they're just sobbing uncontrollably, knowing full well that it's a genetically. She looks not. It's like this is more. God, I wish Neil was here because he would be so morbid right now. But like, can you imagine going to the wake or going to see the grave or going into the viewing and be like, well, that looks nothing like my aunt. This looks nothing like my grandma. Why does she look like this lady? What
actually looks like Marissa Tomei.
Why does my aunt look like Marissa Tomei?
George
in the live action version, she keeps getting younger, and then the youngest one is the one that actually dies.
Right. Yeah, like Rosemary Harris. I mean, she's still alive, still kicking, but she looked like the one that would kick the bucket first. It's gotten progressive.
I don't think she would have survived the battle with Doc Ock and Spider-Man 2. Like she would have had a heart attack or something.
Yeah,
she was really
completely agree.
Falling off of things, but overall, I mean, it was affecting. It was granted that not as affecting as it would be had I not already seen her die in the video game. Just a few years ago, and all these other formats. But it was done.
I straight cried.
I got a little, I was welled up a little bit. I don't think any tears dropped, but it was definitely affecting. Ultimately, I haven't seen many people talk about this yet. Like, what is the ultimate ramifications of what Peter Parker actually did by curing all these people before they go back? When they go back, are they just going to get killed still? Because there's no indication that they're not just going to get killed still.
Right. Yeah,
so then they're dying with a clear conscience. Or is it altering the timeline of those previous movies?
If we're creating a variant on Aunt May's death real quick.
Sure, Tyler, and then we'll go to that question. That's a good question, Adam. So let Tyler go ahead and give your thoughts on Aunt May's death.
So, a few points that me and my wife actually had. One was my wife's thought that it was not weird that they killed her off, but that the MCU has so few strong female characters, and it's just a shame to see one more go.
Right.
And then my personal thought, and I know we all liked hearing the exact line said, but it felt very off narrative for me, I guess is the proper term.
Yeah.
Because in all the other iterations that we've heard it for the first time, it's always been somebody telling Peter, you're not using your responsibility correctly. You need to hear this message. Whereas here it was, you're already doing what you need to be doing. Here's just a reminder. By the way, I'm dead.
By the way, LOL.
Yeah. But yeah, that's all I had to say on it. Again, those two things hit me weird, and I think that's ultimately why it comes down to an A or an A minus instead of being that full A plus. And that one scene, while good, just wasn't all the I don't know. It didn't hit exactly the way I think the director and the screenwriter expected it to for me.
So it wasn't quite the voice of this particular Aunt May to be that formal with the way she said it.
Yeah, makes sense. I can see that. I can see your point.
But it's hard to make that natural with any character because it's so iconic at this point. We lost Neil completely. Okay.
Does anyone watch Flash?
I'm gonna drop in. I have two ideas on that. One, we already saw in Loki that there's variant universes when these things happen, so maybe they'll go back, live full lives.
Yeah, that was kind of my theory. Was the variant?
And number two, maybe they go back and die. Maybe Norman gets back there just as the glider flies at him. But the point of the matter is that Peter is trying to help them. It doesn't mean it's going to succeed in the long run. I mean, everyone dies eventually, but he's trying to give them a second chance.
It's very No One Dies-esque.
Yeah.
Which is like my least favorite thing to come from the slot run, like for a myriad of reasons. But in this case, I did appreciate. I was worried that this was going to be like a lot of Doc Strange, and it just wasn't. The Doc Strange element was actually pretty even keel.
People were thinking he would be the next Tony Stark, and thankfully he wasn't.
I mean, they were probably in the same amount of screen time, truth be told. I mean, the Tony Stark thing became such a overwrought thing for me that I got so annoyed by the Far From Iron Man Jr., Far From Spider-Man. I remember that joke.
Don't say that ever again.
It's Spider-Man 7. I mean, it's Iron Man 7.
Yeah, or it's Iron Man 4, or it's Iron Man 6, or whatever. Like,
well, the point is, I think we can all agree he is Spider-Man now.
That's the thing, and somebody made a point, and I can't remember who when I first heard this. If you treat these three films as a origin story in unto themselves, these 5 films, because you include, Endgame and Infinity War.
Don't forget Civil War as well.
And Civil War, these 6 films. So if you treat these 2 trilogies, and yes, they're ancillary stuff in the other 3, but in the main Spider-Man films, you treat them as a origin story in unto themselves. I think it works better than if you did
compressed Bendis version of
that's what I was gonna say. Like, but the thing is, like, doing it over 6 films, that's overkill, man.
It is overkill.
If it was like the first half of a TV show, that would be better because we'd be getting that over like, a couple months. This has been like 5 years.
Yeah, that was the point that my buddy Gerard made today when we were talking earlier.
Did you see it?
He has not seen it yet. He has not, but I highly encouraged him to go do so.
Here's my thoughts on that. I don't think they had a master plan originally to eventually do this.
True.
I do think what it is they were listening to the fans, albeit because for years after ASM, when we found out there's be another reboot, people were saying, I don't want to watch the Uncle Ben scene again. I don't want to go through this. And then they overcorrected that in a very extreme manner. And so people started complaining yet again. And it took them a little while to get there, but they listened.
Yeah. In my non-spoiler review I put on my own personal Facebook page was it addressed a lot of things that I had problems with the MCU Spider-Man and the Holland Spider-Man in general. In one film, they managed to not only address those things, but fix a lot of those things. And I have never been more excited for an MCU Spider-Man film than I was. And in both this case and in the case of Far From Home, I had said, that the last 5 minutes of Far From Home felt the most like a Spider-Man film since really ASM2. Because between
was a character also.
Dude, if you saw me on Twitter, I threw a tantrum about Hawkeye. And now that my wife's not in the room, like, come on, Hawkeye getting to be in New York and getting to have New York as a character was a travesty in the sense of Spider-Man, the greatest character from New York, just can't because of reasons. Putting him in Washington, D.C., putting him in England and Europe in general. No, that's not Spider-Man.
There's a reason why some of the best parts
New
of
York
Homecoming
so
were
well,
when he was in Queens.
they had to take a break.
Doing backflips and people asked him to, and riding around on trains.
Yeah. Sorry, you're talking over Hobby. Hobby, what'd you say?
Oh, sorry.
I was saying that's because ASM2 did New York so well, they had to take a break from that and figure out a way to do it.
Right.
It's all about. It's the whole reason like the ASM trilogy is so different from the Raimi one.
Right.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't just give you the same thing you had just seen. They had to tweak it and differentiate themselves and make it new and fresh.
Because of the way that the rights are, they have, the clock starts the moment the movie comes, this movie comes out. And once it's done with the theatrical run, the clock really starts going at that point. Now, we don't know what the nature of the Disney deal is. I honestly think that there was obviously this film with a 3-picture option for Spider-Man, Beyond. I wish Amy Pascal hadn't said anything this week, a couple weeks ago, because I think that I know they're negotiating it in the media.
Feige did too. He said they're working on 4.
Well, and I think, but that was
want to leave us in the same Far From Home situation.
But
I think he was. I don't think he would have said anything yet until. I think he was kind of forced to by Amy Pascal by her opening her mouth.
I feel like I'm sorry to interrupt, Zach. I was just
you're good. You're good.
I feel like almost they don't know what they're doing with Spider-Man. They're kind of flying by the seat of their pants because after Far From Home came out, they're just like, yeah, we told the story we wanted to tell after that cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's BS.
Yeah. Speaking, and actually I wanted to go back for a second to Far From Home and how that affected this film. Did anybody else find it weird that they just kind of hand-waved away all of Peter's legal troubles with just, they don't have a case?
Yeah. I mean, Matt Murdock is a great lawyer, but I would have liked to see some of that lawyering instead of just being a phone call. All right, well, I got it all taken care of. Happy you're still in trouble, even though you're, a millionaire, I guess, because you've got the Stark Industries behind you.
It's like
my question is,
Happy can be in trouble.
Tom Holland and Zendaya, where they said that there was a backup plan for a third movie if they weren't able to get all these actors to sign on.
Yeah.
It was going to be a Craven movie.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
Which I don't want to see a Craven movie. Like, I want to see Craven be a jobber first, and then set up the end of the trilogy being Craven's last hunt, and then go from there. Like that's the only way to me a Craven movie works.
They're probably going to blow their wad and try to do Craven's Last Hunt as an adaptation.
And the only reason that works is because there's so much buildup. Yeah. And I had somebody was like, "Oh, they're going so dark with the end of the film," and I'm like, "No, they're going more grounded."
Yeah, it is. Well, I find the ending fascinating because he's truly on his own. He has nobody, and no one knows who he is, and he's basically an undocumented immigrant. Like, he has nothing. Well,
he's studying. He's studying for the GED. You saw that book, right?
Yeah.
That was sad.
It's such a fascinating thing because now the possibilities are endless for this, and it's like, oh, what are they going to do with this now that he has no family, unless what Venkman was saying and like Uncle Ben isn't dead and he just like was
Okay, yeah, let me address that right quick because I know Neil was wanting me to address it too. Venkman has a crazy fan theory. Maybe MCU Uncle Ben isn't dead. Maybe he just left Aunt May, and that's why A, they don't talk about him much, and B, why you don't see his gravestone next to May's. Yes, there's a vague mentioning of Uncle Ben in Civil War, but the fact that Peter loses Uncle Ben's suitcase in Far From Home and neither Peter or May feel regretful about it kind of says something. And apparently, Waylon wants to jump into this particular conversation. Hello, Waylon, the unofficial mascot of the Spideydude Radio Network.
Yeah, that would be nice to give him somebody to go to. Somehow he reconnects with an Uncle Ben that we've never seen before. So they have somebody.
I was thinking about where they could go from here, and now Tom Holland and Zendaya are a couple in real life, so I wouldn't be surprised if she signs on for more of these and they reconnect. But if not, I don't think they're going to do another Mary Jane Watson, but she's already Michelle Jones Watson. That would be a little bit weird. So my thinking is, especially if he's feeling a bit down and they indicated a hint of black costume at the end, I think it's Felicia's time for the silver screen.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sweet. She had never. I think they've avoided it for all the other movies because they're like, oh, how are we going to differentiate her from Catwoman?
Just do it.
Well, she was. It wasn't Felicia Hardy, but there was a Felicia in Amazing Spider-Man 2 that was
right.
Harry Osborn's go-to girl.
Yeah, but she was.
No,
for 2 seconds.
she worked for the guy who was running Oscorp. You know, the guy called him recalcitrant.
Yeah.
A lot of people learned a multiple syllable word that day.
What? I'm sorry, I missed that last part.
Oh, while you were away, I was saying that I was talking about future love interests. Now there's a good chance Zendaya signs back on, especially since she and Tom Holland are a couple in real life.
Oh,
if
yeah.
they don't do that, it would be awkward to do another Mary Jane Watson since she's Michelle Jones Watson. I don't know.
Yeah, the Michelle Jones Watson thing. I was like, okay, all right, fine. You're leaning into it. It is what it is.
What it is.
Yeah,
you know.
And I was thinking that I don't necessarily want them to go to the Gwen route again because Emma Stone played that character really well. Say what you will about those movies, but she did really well with that. I think it's Felicia's time.
Yeah, she was the best part of those movies.
I think it makes sense what you're saying, because if you think about the Felicia of the comics, she doesn't love Peter Parker. She loves Spider-Man.
She learns to love Peter, but when
it took a while,
but especially now with where Peter is at, Peter is he's in this weird, totally broke, totally anonymous guy. When he unmasks to her, she'll be like, huh? You know?
Yeah. No,
Works
it
really
totally
works
sets that up really well.
Yep.
I wonder if we're going to get a post-credit scene in Doc Strange with that. I'm very curious to see if we'll get a post-credit scene with Doctor Strange talking about the how the spell works, because that would be very helpful, because that's probably the biggest question that a lot of people have. But not the biggest question a lot of people have. I want to introduce our next panelist, P-Thug, Paul Herman, the host of the Comic Binge podcast and one half of the MCU podcast. He's also a regular panelist here on the show. Hi, Paul.
Hi. How's it going?
So for Paul to be introduced, we got Tyler, we got Adam S., the other Adam S. in my life, Adam Spencer, FSU Spider fan. You already know Javi and Jack. So
hi,
welcome.
Javi. Hi, Jack.
If somebody else wants to jump aboard, you just let me know and we'll.
So forgive me. I missed the other two people. I'm not familiar with. I apologize. What was their names again?
We got Tyler. I'll make him big. This is Tyler.
Hi, Tyler.
This is Adam.
Hi, Adam. Nice to meet you, sir.
Adam. Yeah. So
I also got to say, and I should have said it sooner, Adam. We've been
Adam 1, Adam 2.
It's nice to finally see your face in one of these things.
I've known Tyler and Adam almost for like 15 years now.
Been a
The
while.
early days of crawl space.
Crawl space,
Wow.
yeah. There are a
Crawl
couple
space.
old crawl space
Crawl space vets, huh?
compadres.
I used to lurk around the crawl space. I used to lurk around.
Expatriates.
Expatriates.
Right.
Yeah, they've left. Over the years, but I think the only crawl spacer left right now is Javi. You're still holding out. You're holding down the fort over there with them.
When schedules permit.
Right.
Yeah.
First of all, I'm glad you're here tonight because they had 9 people.
I was gonna say they had 9 people. Like, how does that even work?
That was impressive. Like,
it wasn't too bad. There was some talking over, but it wasn't that chaotic.
Everybody did a pretty good job. Like, from what I haven't seen the whole thing. I saw a little bit of it here and there. I kind of popped in and out, but I did not.
One review will blow your mind.
That's what I heard, man.
I was pleasantly surprised by that person's review. In fact, I was incredibly shocked.
When Adam told me, I was wow. But it doesn't surprise me either because I feel this movie unifies so many different Spider-Man fans, you know, and I'm one of the people who defended the Spider-Man characterization of the MCU, and it's funny because the MCU fan show, we just did a 4-hour podcast with 2 people, mind you, 2 people. I don't know how I did it, but we did it. And
are you gonna break that up into 2?
No, dude. We just unleashed it, bro. That's how we do it. That's how we do it.
Oh man, you just unleashed the Kraken on that. My God,
man, we do.
It's like jazz, improv, progressive rock.
Progressive rock. We're math rock where I come from, sir.
I joked that that Paul wouldn't leave anything on the bone, but he's like, "It's me." Never mind. I was like, "Oh yeah, never mind."
I've never lost for words. Yeah, I never lost.
I never had dead air when Paul's on the air.
And it's very seldom that I'll feel awkward or like kind of like won't know what to say. But kind of talking about people's expectations and people were surprised who loved it. And again, a lot of people don't love, not a lot, but there's I would say Spider-Man, the mega Spider-Man fandom is very split. It feels like on the MCU Spider-Man, and I was always a pretty big defender of it. I was never one who said that, oh my God, this or that. And one of the cool things about this movie that I have to say that I didn't really talk a lot about on the podcast, which, believe it or not, was just how to me it was a celebration, I think, of the fact that this is such a very different Spider-Man, that I think that we lose sight of the fact that again, I think a big controversy for a lot of people were, this was, where's Uncle Ben? Tony Stark is this, Tony Stark is that. But the thing is, we have to remember is that this is a different universe, and with that, I think when we see you have Tobey Maguire and you have, again, I'm assuming spoilers for all this.
Yeah, we're full spoiler territory. We went 20 minutes before a spoiler was.
Fair. So when you have Andrew and you have Tobey and you have Tom all together, it really is an emphasis of how different they are all a little bit different characterizations. I mean. Definitely. And again, the Toby's a lot more traditional, old school. Andrew a little more of the cutting edge version, and I think Tom's a little bit more of a mix of all those things. And it's really interesting to see all them. And it kind of reminds you that they're all kind of different, and but in the end, and again, I said this on the podcast, but I think I need to emphasize it more over our Spider-Man podcast. So I want to talk about that, but I'm curious what you guys all think. But it's, to me, what makes Spider-Man is obviously with great power comes great responsibility. But what does that mean to you as a fan, right? And so, right. I think for me, and I emphasize this a lot on the podcast, is it means sacrifice. It means that sacrifice yourself, and that's what Peter does in the end. And I think what's so beautiful about this, and I say beautiful, I mean that. No, like, I'm not trying to be like funny or whatever. I mean, serious. What's beautiful about the MCU Spider-Man trilogy, and I think his, and again, not including the Civil Wars and Infinity Wars, that's icing on the cake. That's that's like the mashed potatoes with your corn. It's the meat of a Spider-Man story is what we got in those 3 films, and what those 3 films is him learning of those sacrifices. And obviously with Aunt May, when she's the one that says, with great power comes great responsibility, at this point, we don't know if that's what we assume that Uncle Ben didn't say that to her because that's the first time that he's heard it. And I think there's something really beautiful about that to me, that it's a little bit different. But in the end, is Spider-Man going to learn with great power comes great responsibility? And even though it's a lot different, and it's again, a lot of people, if you would have told all the Iron Man Jr. people that, Aunt May is going to say it and Uncle Ben, you'd have them like throwing riots in the streets. But
I will tell you, they gave the film, like the one of the most prominent ones.
I know,
gave
right?
that film an A+.
I know. But here's why though, because in the end, this is what I want to emphasize. I think it's unified a lot of fandoms. Again, it'll make everybody happy, obviously, but it's going to unify fandoms because this movie is able to execute on that level that it shows you Spider-Man's progression as it goes. And again, it's not the traditional. Again, that's the one thing about the MCU Spider-Man that it showed. It's not the traditional. I showed up, I learned my lesson, and I'm going to do good from there on. I remember telling Adam, and I told on the podcast, the reason the MCU is so different is because Spider-Man, when he first got on the scene in the 60s, he was with everybody else. It was they all started at the same time. So of course they're going to look to him as a peer or like someone they go, hey, we should team up. You're Spider-Man. You're not a Spider-Boy or whatever, So with all that, you're obviously going to have a lot different, evolution of the character. And what's cool about the MCU Spider-Man is that he becomes Spider-Man. He gets the costume. He becomes, he's trying to figure out how to be a teenager and everything. And really, these three films is the great power becomes great responsibility. So when you have the scene when he's lifting up the thing and he thinks of Tony Stark and people are like, why is he thinking of Uncle Ben? This is bull crap. And it's like, it's like whatever. The beauty of it though is that that's all part of the process of him learning to become and sacrifice himself. And that to me is what makes this whole trilogy. And this movie, again, you can look at every movie in a vacuum, and I think that's fair to an extent. But now with No Way Home, you have to look at it the whole thing, and it is the evolution of the character and seeing him learn. And again, I also love the fact that every Spider-Man's got a Green Goblin. And that's the thing about any iteration of Spider-Man. There's always some kind of goblin character that's going to move Spider-Man off his rocker and make him, whatever, right? Move and push him to a level that he's never been before and learn and have to cope. And it's so crazy that it's the Sam Raimi Green Goblin that it's going to be Tom Holland's Green Goblin. I would have never predicted that. And it's such an to me amazing thing, no pun intended, that's what we got. So to me, like it's an evolution of we got it a lot differently than any other iteration of Spider-Man. But in the end, I think why everyone loves it is because it puts him where he needs to be by himself, doing what he needs to do as a sacrifice of what great power comes great responsibility. And that's why this movie is resonating with so many people. And you have people who are like, hey, I'm a junior, blah, blah, blah. All those people love it now because he learns. We find out exactly what why he learns with great power comes great responsibility in this movie, and it's from Aunt May, and it makes sense. All of it makes sense in the context of the MCU. So and also gotta love the troll job they all did with the Iron Man Jr. Time magazine cover. That is just a stroke of brilliance in my opinion.
All right, we'll get into that in just a second. I want to introduce really quickly before I got to let Hobby and Jack kind of talk a little bit before they have to leave. But I want to introduce to everybody, Vinkman. Hello.
Vinkman! Hey.
Welcome to the show, Vinkman.
That's me.
Yeah. That applause is for you, Paul, by the way.
Welcome, Vinkman.
Thank you.
Welcome to the show, my man. We're going to get to you in just a second, but I just got told via backstage that Jack and Javi are going to have to jump out. But guys, give us a little bit of a preview before you leave. Season 1 has been released, other than I think one other episode. Now, I will also preface this. There was apparently some episodes that were recorded with Mike Bailey and John that were referenced in episode 41 of ASM Classics. If I get those edited in those raw files, I will try to get them out before you guys debut. If not, then we'll go from there. But you guys are going to be coming out starting when?
I think we were shooting for a February launch officially, unless you want to move it up a little bit further.
I mean, we're thinking February or March, and the
February
reason being,
sounds good.
yeah, the reason that we're doing that the way we're doing it is just because we wanted you guys to get a couple more episodes in, but you guys got some episodes in the can already, that are recorded, and you're working on editing right now. So kind of give a bit of tell the people what to expect from ASM Classics for season 2.
Well, the original show was so well done by Josh and Don and John. But I think what we bring to the table here for season 2, because we talked about it a lot behind the scenes about just picking up where they left off. But the problem with that was always going to be the fact that Jack hasn't read those issues of Amazing Spider-Man. Who did you grow up with reading as a kid?
Miles.
Yeah. So Jack has read pretty much all the Miles Morales stuff when he was a little kid up until 6 or 7 issues into when he joined the MCU.
Right.
So this is all fresh territory for him to go through for the first time. It's something I've been reading since I was 5.
Right.
But what's going to be cool about this season is the fact that Jack has a unique perspective because he himself is in high school and is roughly Spider-Man's age right now.
Right.
So we're going to get his...
You're the target demo, is what they say.
2021 perspective on 1962, 1963 Spider-Man.
And you always want some sort of hook. You know, the original concept of the show was, okay, we're just going from the beginning and you know, talking about Spidey from the beginning, which at that point nobody was doing. But that's also been 10 years ago. So for us to come back and revisit the show and re-release the show over the last couple of years, and be able to take it into that direction, I think it's so critically important, because there's not a podcast like it where you have a father and son going back and coming from the perspective of being a dad now, where my daughter is getting into Spider-Man and Spidey's world because that's what dad's into because she's 6. Jack became into the character, I'm sure dad had an influence, but he has his Spider-Man, which is, like you say, Miles. And to go back and reread these 60s books, I think, and have that fresh perspective, I think is so vitally important. Plus you have somebody that's an experienced person on the mic, podcaster. We're so excited to have you guys as part of the network. When I said, mentioned the network aficionados and stuff like that on my pipe, that this was what I was talking about. Was we wanted to talk a little bit about ASM Classics and let you guys have the floor. So you've got what, 4 or 5 episodes done now?
We have covered up to issue 6. We're due for record 7 and 8 soon. I think we're finally getting into our groove a little bit with our format. Our pilot episode was really exciting to do because we compared and contrasted Amazing Fantasy 15 to Spider-Man Chapter 1
and Ultimate Spider-Man.
Yeah, Ultimate Spider-Man 1 through 5.
Okay. So like, that's unique. That's super unique.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like, and which one did you like better? Or are they equally? Did you like them equally? They're Jack.
I thought Ultimate was the best, in my opinion. That's the only argument.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
At least you didn't say Chapter 1.
Listen, if poor Javi makes him read that, we're gonna have issues.
If he wants to.
No, I think the guys. I remember. I think they did like a relaunch episode where they covered like the first month of the relaunch. If I'm recalling, I think it was partly an April Fool's gag. So
yeah,
if you guys want to do that for April Fools, it's funny because there's a lot of people that don't remember Chapter 1 as a thing. There's enough readers now that maybe don't remember.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
It's not a bad thing, but yeah, I just, I'm so thankful for you guys being on the show, and I know we talked about being fall, but there's been so much stuff going on this year, and both in front of the camera and behind the camera, it's been so chaotic. We decided we wanted to push back, get a few more things in order, and now we have all the original episodes up, and we have the first half of Vietnam a Go-Go as of this recording. The second part will be up very shortly. We'll be doing more Patreon stuff. We'll have some more stuff, but ASM Classics coming to you guys. I know you guys are gonna have to dip out here in a second, so ASM Classics coming this February on Spideydude.com, Spideydude Radio Network. Javi, did you get all that stuff figured out on behind the scenes on the website stuff?
No, I haven't had a chance to do that yet. I was going to work on it tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Stay tuned for those that follow our website, Spidey-dude.com. There will be a review of the Mafex Spidey, Ben Reilly Spidey, which I am super jealous that Javi has that in his possession. I'm super jealous, but he has actually the Mafexes, the actual Mafexes, and if I try to go buy another one on eBay, I'll probably get stuck with another knockoff. So, because my knockoff likes to be legless, likes to lose legs. It falls apart. It's like I almost want to get super glue, but then I'm like, I don't want to take away articulation. It's a nightmare. But thanks guys. I'm sure you guys are gonna have to jump off here in just a second. Got any final things to say about the film before you leave?
Definitely one of, if not the best film experience I've had in just all my life, including Endgame. Awesome. I thought it was better than that.
Wow.
Awesome.
Wow. That is
high praise.
That's incredibly high praise.
Now I have to ask, what was your bigger moment in the theater? Was it Andrew walking through the portal, or was it Cap catching the hammer?
Andrew, because I was like, oh my god, he got the hammer now, and then he said the Avengers Assemble line. But for Andrew, I clapped super hard for him, just the excitement that I saw him popping through the portal. I didn't think he was going to be in it along with Toby. I was just like, no, they're probably not going to do that.
Getting everybody's hopes up and setting expectation, right? No, it makes sense. It makes sense. I was on the fence of saying, oh no, it's not going to happen, even though like the entire internet was telling me it was going to happen. Did it diminish? So, Javi, did that diminish from your enjoyment of that moment?
No, because I stayed pretty spoiler free. I mean, outside of the general buzz of will they, won't they?
Right.
I was also thinking that it wasn't going to happen, and then we saw Tick Tick Boom, and he's got such a Peter Parker like performance. There's a lot of comparisons with Jonathan Larson's life and Peter's,
right?
And that kind of like got me excited. Like, oh, it'd be so great if he would come back. And then we saw the eyes of Tammy Faye, and he's magnificent in that too. And so my hype really started to build because we've been watching a lot of Andrew Garfield lately.
Love Andrew. Andrew Garfield.
And yeah, that was, as much as I do love those Endgame moments, and I've got the hot toy because I love him so much. The Andrew Garfield return.
Yeah, you've gotten a lot of grief for loving ASM2 more than 90% of the population.
And for the record, Andrew Garfield is my favorite interpretation of Spider-Man in the costume, not Peter Parker per se, but Spider-Man in the costume. I don't think Andrew is top. I think Holland's the best. I think when he's kind of like Christian Bale, right? In a sense to where his Batman is the best. Like I'd say, just if you want to take pound for pound, like he's consistently a good Batman and a good Bruce Wayne. He's consistently a good Spider-Man with a Peter Parker and a Spider-Man. But I would say, like for me, I prefer Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man specifically to anyone's Spider-Man. But his Peter Parker characterization, and it's not all on him. That's a lot of the writing. But yeah, I would say Andrew is and he's also the best actor. I think all of them too. I don't think that's
true.
Without question. I also think Javi, you're an Andrew Garfield guy like myself. Have you seen Red Riding?
No.
So Red Riding's I haven't finished the last part. It's pretty dark though, man. And don't go watch it unless you want to get super depressed. It's dark AF. But Andrew Garfield delivers a phenomenal performance in the first part of that. It's like a 3-part miniseries, and it's super good. So that's when he was cast as Spider-Man, I immediately wanted to see, started diving into his movies, and that was one of the first ones, and that blew me away. I was like, this guy can act his A off. And obviously Social Network's amazing. So, I mean, he's so good in that. So, but yeah, no, Andrew Garfield, and that's one thing about this movie I have to say. I mean, I've never been a big Toby guy myself. I think he's fine. But this made me want Andrew Garfield. I thought he stole the show, personally. I mean, maybe I'm being biased, but
agreed.
I thought,
he's amazing.
Yeah, he was so good.
Listen, I thought this was the funnest. Honestly, Toby was great in this to me. Like Toby
was on fire for me, man. I'm telling you right now.
Toby actually got to say jokes, and I don't know, actually got to be kind of act more like Spider-Man.
Toby was, dude. If Toby could come back with this kind of writing, it's not gonna happen. But if I'm open to both of them coming back, because they both nailed it. This like we said earlier, this kind of puts a bow on their versions, but. If they ever, maybe in the animated movies or something, if they want to do voices, I'd be all for it.
I got greedy and I was hoping at the end credits scene, I was very disappointed it was Venom, and I was hoping it was going to be zooming in on the house of Mary Jane walking out the door, and then Tobey Maguire walking up and saying, you hit the jackpot, and then a little baby May or a little teenage May comes out and flips out, or something.
Oh, that'd have been somebody. Jeffers from the old Spider-Girl message board was talking about that. They need to start working on developing a Spider-Girl.
They need a Disney Plus Spider-Girl TV show with Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst.
I'm in. Tyler,
I don't know if Sony would let that happen, but
probably not. But
yeah, Tyler, you're gonna have to head out as well. So let you have the floor before you jump off.
Yeah. So in regards to this film, I would just say, and I want to diverge for just a second here. I think that in terms of all the Spider-Man movies, Into the Spider-Verse is probably the best singular Spider-Man film. But if you're willing to put in all the effort, I think this might be the best live-action Spider-Man film and the best film in the Spider-Man franchise to follow that. Personally, I prefer a standalone as opposed to a whole experience, but I can understand why other people would see it differently. And I just want to remind everybody to see the most important Spider-Man film of the year next year with Morbius.
Listen, I have been in contact with Cushing. I am trying to get him to come on for a review of that particular film. Whether or not that will happen is probably next to zero. Good night, SoFlo. But yeah, I'm excited. And Tyler, if you want to come back on for the Morbius review, I don't know if everybody's going to watch that, so you're more than welcome.
I'll come on.
It actually looks pretty good. It might be good.
Hey, I'm going to come at it with the same expectations that I had with Venom, and that is zero. And if I am entertained, great. I will talk to Kevin and be like, okay, how accurate is this to the comics? But Morbius, my thing with Morbius, every time I see Morbius or hear Morbius, it's this man right here's the Count interpretation that we did one time.
That's still on YouTube.
We're still on YouTube. The dramatic reading of the 90s show where Adam
one sucker hand, two sucker hands, three sucker hands.
Where I'm gonna have to get that video and share it on the page because it's so stupid. But
it really is.
It's really ridiculously dumb, but we had a blast one night. We had a lot of fun. But yeah, no, I'm down for more because I'm gonna go see it. I have not seen Venom yet. It's just been circumstances and time. That's why
Is
I haven't
Kevin
seen it.
excited and optimistic about it, or is he dreading it?
Kevin's optimistic. From what him and I have said, him and I have talked about offline. He kind of was like, yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to it. He's like, it's Morbius. It's on the big screen. It's something I never thought would happen. So like, I'm gonna be happy with that happening. But he's cautiously optimistic. Jared Leto, he's more of a Jared Leto fan than I am as an actor. So we'll see. I mean, it looks like it's going to be pretty faithful to the books. So I'm interested. What I'm more interested is how it ties into the MCU. Like the amount of things that are in the trailer. How is this going to work?
Well, the poster on the wall is the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Again, how is this going to work?
But it also has Vulture from the MCU.
It's so bizarre. So I'm
references Venom, who's supposedly a whole other
variant.
Maybe I don't know. We'll see what happens when we get to that particular element. So
we're going to say goodnight on our end, but just wanted to thank you guys for having us on, and it was great talking with everybody. And I can't wait to do it again and to be more regular.
Well, I'll tell you guys are welcome on the show anytime. You guys want to be on a part of the program, you let me know. We'll make some room for you. Always enjoy your guys' presence, and be looking for ASM Classics. Also, follow ASM Classics on Twitter. There'll be some official show updates as we get rolling. So Javi's going to be managing that over on twitter.com/ASM_Classics. Thanks again, Javi, for being part of the Spideydude Network. And Jack.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool.
You gentlemen have a great night, and we'll see you soon.
Yep. Stay classy.
That's fine.
I like it. It's a good dad fun. Jack's like, oh no, why?
No, that's his line.
That's my line.
That's his closing line for the show. So
nice.
Spoiler for a little tease for upcoming episodes.
Nice. I like the stay classy.
Yeah.
Just don't say San Diego, because then that's copyright
That's a whole other thing.
Because that's my line.
Yeah, because you're in San Diego, you cool youth pastor.
Yes,
All right.
And I want to
Bye,
head out
guys.
as well, guys. It was
Good night,
great
everybody.
being on. I want to thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for being a part of the program. And again, you're welcome on anytime. If we do another live caller thing, you can definitely jump on. Now you know how to use StreamYard. So, welcome to StreamYard. All right, buddy. We'll talk soon.
See ya.
See ya. All right. And then that was 6. All right.
Sinister Six.
We are now the Sinister 6. Okay.
Sinister.
Vinkman, you finally have the floor. Give us your review of this particular. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There you go. Give
right.
me your review. What are your thoughts on this particular film? You've been listening as well as participating, so
Yep.
you've been in the comments.
Okay, well, first of all, I need to say that up to this point, I have not been looking forward to this movie. In fact, I've been very vocal about the fact that I was convinced going into it that it was going to be a dumpster fire based on the 2 previous movies, and
Right.
Again, it's that fool me once, shame on you thing. So I was like, and that's just me in general. I don't really get super excited for movies the way other people do. I still blame that on I still blame that on Superman Returns and The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Those were 2 movies that I really wanted to like, and I bought into the hype. I watched all the trailers and all of the publicity and came away just like, ugh. So it's just, in general, I don't really get myself psyched up for movies. I just kind of go in as as level as possible and just see where it goes from there. So, but then I saw the movie. and it mainly like the first half or so, like the first half hour, 40 minutes was still kind of the same MCU Spider-Man we saw previously a lot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but then Alfred Molina showed up.
Mhm.
And I was suddenly, I was wearing my mask in the theater, but like suddenly I was grinning ear to ear, and I was just enjoying myself, and the movie was just sailed from there. And even being surprised by, I admittedly I was kind of spoiled a little bit about Toby and Andrew being in the movie, but I didn't realize that they were going to show up when they did.
Yeah,
go ahead.
No, that's been a common refrain. I think a lot of people were expecting them to show up, at the very, very end of the third, towards the end of the very, and not be, a third of the film, was them. I think a lot of people were expecting it to be like 10%, if that, a glorified cameo, if that.
Yeah.
Like the end of another recent movie.
Right.
Although
I read an article that said that the way they convinced him to be part of the movie was to say you're not going to be a glorified cameo. There's going to be actual character arcs for all these characters, and there was. They pulled it off somehow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah, which is astonishing to me.
Oh yeah, and it was great. Like, and it was not. And I've said like, I'm not. Like I like the Raimi trilogy, but like I don't put Toby on the pedestal that a lot of other people do. Like, and just from a personal standpoint, I personally still don't have a Christopher Reeve equivalent live action Peter Parker.
Right.
Just me personally.
I agree with you. I've got a voice actor for that, but not a live action.
Yeah.
Josh Keaton. But
Keaton. Yeah, Keaton for Greg. There's a little bias there. Spectacular Radio, available on Spideydude Radio Network.
Hey, he came on, and
I
he
agree with
lovely voicemail later also.
Yeah, he had a couple. He had a glorified cameo at the very end.
Sorry. Yeah, that's true. Go ahead. That's true. Your favorite doesn't necessarily have to be like a live action actor. Like my just going off topic, like my favorite Sherlock Holmes actor is a radio actor, Clive Merrison.
Nice.
And
everyone's favorite Joker is Mark Hamill.
Or the best Batman.
Yeah, Joker for me is Hamill too. Same thing with Conroy as the voice of Batman. Like I love the live action guys, but those I completely when I hear Batman in my mind's eye, it's Conroy. So, but I have to acknowledge something right quick, Vingman, just a sec. Look at the cuteness.
Say hi, Lulu. Say hi. Say hola. Say hola. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, Lulu is 1.5, and she's learning. Are you learning about Spider-Man? No. Who's this?
Thwip.
Who's this? Yeah, that's close enough. That's close enough. By the way, these bathtub, they call them. I've seen people call them bathtub toys. I love them. Like people
I like that stuff better than some of the highly articulated stuff.
Yeah,
look at that.
Like,
It's just
this looks great.
It looks awesome.
Yeah.
Like,
they do
wait,
nice.
Can I also say for the record, like, why in the heck is this like not like in the comic books right now? This is a phenomenal, this is a great design. Why?
It reminds me of the '90s show.
It's an inside-out costume.
Oh yeah.
It does remind me of the '90s show.
I love that effect in the '90s show. The spider sense. I always thought that was cool.
Yeah, let's put. I honestly think they should put this in the comic books, man. Like, it's a fantastic design. I love the black and gold. I think it was fantastic.
I'm surprised they only did it for one scene.
Yeah, one scene. What is that for? Like what? Like give
toys
up
for toys.
Right. Which this Yeah, this one I gotta tell you, this one's grown on me. I like.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I never minded that one really. I thought it's not bad.
well, this is still the No Way Home one because I'm not sure if the other bathtub toy one version is like more metallic looking, but
Right.
but this one I like the fact they obviously wanted to give them all a little bit different looking. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Yeah, it's Mama. Different looking costumes to differentiate on the end battle scene. And it was kind of a brilliant move. You want the back? You want the back? No. Okay, there you go. Just to kind of.
Yeah, I think they wanted him back in the red.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, differentiated. Yeah.
Nice. Javi had his Spidey, and I didn't acknowledge it.
Oh, there's Toby.
So
I need. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say, like, since that's but presumably we are gonna be getting like a second wave of No Way Home figures.
We have to,
please.
I would think they're doing it. They're gonna do a 20th anniversary Spider-Man. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say
to almost have it.
Yeah, they need to do an updated one of this, and they need to do an updated ASM2 suit.
Yeah, that buck. Oh, gosh, I remember loving that thing whenever it came out, but then I got the ASM2 Diamond Select.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one.
Really good.
Yeah, I ended up selling mine because
figures only comic ones, but I might make an exception. We'll see.
Yeah, that one was a better figure than this one, but I ended up having to sell the Diamond Select ASM2 figure because mine, the legs on that one just kept giving out, and he kept I called him suicidal Spider-Man because he kept just diving off my shelf to the point it's just like,
yeah, and if you're in your shelf, if it's like mine, like if one starts to fall, then it's just a cavalcade of suck where they all just fall over.
Yeah.
And yeah. Then I look at this guy's guy's stuff.
Oh, yeah.
How do you dust that? That's my question.
Yeah.
Canned air.
Like I've tried that before, and it just kept freezing on me.
You have to do it very carefully.
Yeah, that's Oh, you're some of my DC stuff there now. Also, but in widescreen.
I'm looking at Adams, and he looks like other Adam. He looks like he's having a beach retreat going on right now. But
beach retreat.
Everybody's backgrounds, and then Adams, classic, background here, and then you got mine. My undecorated Christmas tree. I meant to decorate it, but then I'm like, well, I'm going to take it down in like a week, so.
Well, I would argue that my background for tonight is Norman Osborn, but
well, yeah, normally it's Demona for Voices from the Eerie, even though that's an audio only podcast. But yeah, no, I'm super excited about the potential because obviously I with the now to give kind of context to no, you're good, dude. They're doing the 20th anniversary of Marvel Legends. They're doing the initial wave, which is a 4-figure wave with Captain America, Iron Man, the Hulk, which I know Vinkman was upset about that Hulk.
I don't like that head. I'm sorry. I know it's supposed to look like Sal, but I think that head is fugly.
I think it's the lips. I think if they had not accentuated those lips on it, I think it'd been fine. I don't know why I get why they try to do different head sculpts for it because they didn't want to just do a re-release of the Wolverine 80th. But I don't get at that part. I don't get.
I still think that one's a better Hulk.
I'm not rushing out to get this Hulk. I'm not. For those that didn't get that though on the 80th, I get why they were doing the re-release, but
yeah.
I like the fact that he had the torn shirt. I like the fact that the head sculpt really, to me, also felt very Sal Buscema-esque or Neil Adams-esque. So I'm perfectly happy with my Hulk, but for those that didn't get it, and didn't get the San Diego Comic-Con one, that's a great opportunity. We haven't seen Toad yet, which that's kind of the big last reveal, which I'm
Yeah.
I've
Kind of
got a
interesting to see.
David's Toad right over here. I cannot
did we
wait
lose
to
Adam?
post that thing.
Lost Adam.
Can I just say for the record, our other Adam, my Adam S. Every time I see your background, I always think you're in like a locker room or something like that.
Yeah, it's basically it's a CD locker pretty much.
Right. I always think you're like in the bottom dungeons of a locker room or something like that. I'm like, where is Adam at? I don't know.
You know,
Maybe I am. Who knows?
Your living quarters are very industrial.
By the way, hold on really quick? Are you?
What?
What? You cut out.
Are you wearing a cardigan?
Yes.
Yeah, you missed that.
This is my This is my holiday sweater. And
I forgot to do the disclaimer at the beginning of the episode. But for the audio listeners, yeah, we do have visual aids today.
But, I like the cardigan. It looks good on you, bro. You should rock those more often.
Thank you. We'll see. Zach was like, I changed my name on here for audio listeners and people watching that don't see this. I changed my name on here to Cool Youth Pastor. And Zach was like,
that was amazing.
Yes, it was. Zach was like, well, you don't really look like one. I was like, well, hold on.
It's a good look, though.
Oh, there they are. I got the display names. Woohoo. Okay. There we go.
I've gotten compliments. I've gotten compliments on the sweater.
No, I like it. I think you should rock the cardigans. Yeah, you should rock them more often. It definitely brings you back to like the old music scene. Back in my days when we used to rock those cardigans for hipster purposes.
Although if he like gets a dress shirt and a tie and wears the cardigan, then he truly looks like Peter Parker while we're doing the show. Because the glass, like Ditko Peter, especially.
Yeah.
I made a comment and Adam couldn't hear me, the other Adam. But you look like you're in like a vacation. Are you in your living room?
No, I'm in my man cave basement.
Man cave basement.
So am I.
Yeah, you guys see over here.
Oh, nice.
Ooh.
Oh.
What is
okay,
that
for those
shield, Adam?
audio listeners, he's got his fireplace. He's got a capped shield. Is that the Marvel Legends replica, or what kind of replica shield is that?
Yeah, I think it's Marvel Legends. It's like the good plastic one that's shiny, you know.
The one that came out a couple years ago. Yeah,
I need to get that.
I want that thing so bad. Like I had they had it on display at ThinkGeek 2 years to not this past Thanksgiving, but the previous Thanksgiving. I went to ThinkGeek. I was in El Paso and I had one. And if I had the $100 at the time, I would have freaking snagged one because I love the way that the quality of that is remarkably good. The one I really want though is the metal one.
Yeah, metal one would be Brock. It's plastic, but so it's light, and I get it down, and I'm playing, battling my daughters with it, and they got lightsabers, and or we have I have Mjolnir over there, a plastic Mjolnir. I actually have a spider corner too. Hold on.
As he's taking us over there, Venkman, you got anything handy nearby?
No, but I was gonna say I have a couple of friends who do have cap shields. I have a cosplay friend who actually handmade his out of metal.
Right.
And I also have another friend. He has he actually has like a 1-to-1 like screen accurate
nice
cap shield hanging in his sort of collector's room studio.
Nice. All right, Adam, you got your Spidey corner.
Yeah,
that's pretty
Spider
cool.
corner, and I was showing off my picture with Stan Lee.
Yeah, I missed that as Venkman was talking. I was like, oh crap. So, but that's pretty cool.
Spidey corner. There's nowhere to sit over here, so I don't. It's just a corner.
Right. All right. So for those, I'll make myself big.
I'll show my Spidey stuff too.
I wish I still had
Here's my Star Wars corner and my Florida State corner.
Oh yeah, Florida State. Yeah. So I wish I still had Javi here because I have Sean Connery Goldfinger poster.
Nice.
There's Sarah again. Hello, Sarah. Venkman. Speaking of,
you're making people like seasick. I'm sure.
There's the first appearances wall, and then there's my Marvel Legends.
Blow me up. I'm going to show my Spidey stuff.
Oh, wait, Venkman's on here.
Yeah, we got Venkman on.
Oh yeah.
Hi.
As I make everybody
Hi.
sick watching. I know, my camera's off.
Hi.
I can't hear you, but hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, but anyways, I was saying, I guess to continue my thoughts on the film, I really enjoyed it. I ended up, I was more on the say B plus side rather than A plus, because like even though it is the best MCU Spider-Man movie, and while I do. I would probably still say Into the Spider-Verse is a better Spider-Man overall film. Like there are a couple of niggles here and there that kind of bring this down, like kind of like the whole subplot of trying to like sort of like cure the villains, like that's kind of like almost from like a mental health aspect. Like that's not really something you can just do with like a cure you can just whip up really easily. And it's the fact that it was never really clear what happened after Doctor Strange cast the final spell. Like did they actually go back to like the exact moment that they did and die anyway? Did this actually change the universes? Did this just create another variant universe?
Right.
Or was this like after that, did none of that ever happen? That's kind of one of those sort of plot holes that like the more you think about it, the more you're like,
I mean,
the plot possibility.
But I think
that's
the
a
point is
possibility.
that Peter would try to help these people because that's who he is. That's what he does. Whether he ultimately succeeds, I mean, we're all going to die anyway. But he's giving it his all.
I was thinking it.
Oh, I was about to blow up my Spidey collection, but
yeah, go ahead. What you saying, Adam?
The interesting thing is, in the actual movies, most of them were in the actual movies. So Green Goblin, when he died, he turned back into the regular Norman that was sort of nice and said, "Don't tell Harry." And then Doc Ock, was able to overcome the tentacles and save the day and died saving the day. Sandman died, saving Peter Parker. So what if the moment
flew off?
Well, he kind of
really die.
He doesn't.
I think he just kind of let himself, like he's still out there somewhere, probably.
But what if this
like,
movie was an explanation of why they had to change a heart at the last second? If like they were instantly out and then they come back and then that's what made them actually have that change of heart at the last second.
That's a fascinating.
That is, yeah.
Plot point
because you could. The thing is it actually, when you think of it that way, the original, it doesn't. This movie does not like tarnish or change the previous movies before in any way, really.
Well, that's the one thing about the final spell that he cast, about making everyone and every universe forget, Peter Parker is Spider-Man, or making them forget Peter Parker. Did that screw things up for Tobey and Andrew's Spider-Man universes? Like when let's just say, for argument's sake, that Tobey is married to Mary Jane, currently, but he goes back and suddenly she doesn't know who he is because of the spell.
That's rough.
I think it was someone said something that wasn't like that, but it was a similar thing, and someone said, did the Thanos snap wipe out half the population in other universes and not just this main MCU film universe. And someone was like, it was probably just in that universe, because it's like, oh well, did this happen? Did this happen in the Raimi and Webb universes and everything? But it's like,
because of the go ahead.
I think that's a bit too heavy. Like, I don't think
Yeah.
I don't think that, you know, everyone's gonna forget, you know, who the people that know that Andrew is Spidey in his universe, and the people that know that Toby is Spidey in his universe. I don't think they're gonna forget that. I think this is just a timeline exclusive, if you will.
I agree.
What were you saying, David?
Well, I was gonna say, you know, I think I do agree that the snap only happened in the MCU because the end tag with Tom Hardy, he was, you know, drunk Eddie Brock. He was like, he was really incredulous about the idea of the snap. So
well, also, what if showed that in different universes that the snap didn't happen, like in the Black Panther version where he becomes Star-Lord.
Right, and also like the in Loki too, you know, the sacred timeline would be the Marvel 616, you know, MCU timeline, and so, you know, those events had to happen the way they did, and the divergence from that, you know, that Nexus event makes it to where it, you know, in other places there wouldn't be a snap. So I think that's a fascinating element. Now, Greg, I know you're jonesing at it. I'm going to let you do it. All right, I'm jumping over to you. There's his Spidey shelves. You got all the flying characters that are like hanging from the ceiling, which I'm really, really jealous of.
Quite an investment.
So, yeah, Greg is my fellow Marvel Legends guy. Like, he is, you know, when we talk Marvel Legends here on the show, I always like having Greg on because it's always fun. Anybody else want to call in or be a part of it? We're opening up the lines as well. One of the things we have not talked about, that last costume.
Oh
yeah.
Oh my God, that last costume.
All right, so it panned. I was in the theater and it panned to the sewing machine, and I was like, holy shit. And there it was, and I was like, awesome. I almost my knee jerk reaction was best suit, but we'll have to see it clearer.
Yeah, we didn't get to see enough of it to really judge.
I'm hoping. So Gerard and I were talking. If you've got a PlayStation 5 and you have the remastered version of PS4 Spidey, or Spider-Man 1 on PlayStation, the remastered version, they did release the black and gold suit as well as the updated No Way Home suit with the extra gold.
The integrated suit. Yeah.
The integrated suit. Both have been updated on that. So if you have not seen that suit, those suits, like, to me, every time they render those, they just do such a beautiful job. Like, that game made me a fan of the slot volume 4 suit.
Yeah,
the Parker Industries
the
suit.
shininess of it really comes out really good in motion, a lot better than it did. And unfortunately, I love Alex Ross, but his covers didn't do justice to it.
His covers were okay, but it was rendered so much better when it was like a 3D model as opposed to But no, like everybody said, that was another point when there was several points where I marked out in the theater, Charlie Cox, because legitimately I didn't think that was going to happen. Like, when Cox shows up and he kind of hand waves everything away and be like, I'm a really good lawyer, when he catches the brick, which was just,
that was great.
That was phenomenal. I'm like, yes. If Charlie Cox is not a part of She-Hulk, it is a absolute travesty. I wish Paul was in here right
I'm hoping he shows up in a couple days on the finale of Hawkeye, but I don't know how they fit everything in.
I hope that Hawkeye. You know, I marked out for that. Like I straight said yes, like screaming to myself in my house by myself. Whenever that popped in, and so between that and the Charlie Cox reveal, I'm like yes. So now Sarah's like, I haven't watched Daredevil. I'm like, well, I got another excuse to watch Daredevil.
Daredevil's amazing. I love that show.
It is if you have not watched the show, it is, to me, it's the best of the Netflix series. It was the first and the best.
Oh,
one and three especially.
Yeah, I don't remember if I finished season 3. And because I'm not a binge,
it's time.
I am not a binge guy. I don't, and I've said this before, I don't like binge watching things. That's just not me. I've never been that guy. I like having to me, I am that person that likes to wait between, episodes.
You have time to think about it, to absorb it.
Yeah. I wish Wiseman was here for us to have that discussion, because I know that there's been a lot of people that have been very upset over the fact that Greg Wiseman, the release of Young Justice was not just dumped in a binge watch format, that they're doing the weekly episodic releases. And I get it. There's advantages and disadvantages to the formula. My thing is, when you binge watch something and it's 13 episodes, you get through the 13 episodes and then you're done.
When Netflix drops an entire season, you're not absorbing it. You're racing through it so you don't get spoiled on the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and everybody's at different stages. If people aren't rushing, because I only watch like an episode or two at a time, when if it is all available. And then you can't talk to anybody because you're like, who's on the same page? Who's on the same episode? I'm on episode 6. I'm on episode 3. Oh crap! Well, I guess we'll talk in a few weeks. But where are you at? I'm on episode 8. I'm on episode 4. Oh crap! It just takes away from the conversation of everybody being. I mean, that's what Disney Plus has done. That's really been good. Is they've gotten the weekly talk back between Mandalorian and these Marvel shows. Every week, people are talking and having a conversation. What's coming next? Yeah, and that just builds the hype.
Yeah, and I think that they timed the Kingpin reveal perfectly with Hawkeye. And so by doing that and the Charlie Cox thing, I just was like, oh yes, finally. I would like to see Frank Castle even as a cameo. Just like, is Spidey swinging through?
Just forget the Punisher, bro. Just forget the Punisher. He's obnoxious. Get him out of here.
See, I don't have a problem with Punisher, man. I like Punisher.
Okay, guns. I get it.
Well, I'm from Texas too. But no, I thought the casting of Punisher, John Blumenthal, is just phenomenal casting.
Yeah, listen. It's not even against the actor. It's just about the character in general. To me, he's not a very interesting character by himself. He works better when he's playing off another hero. Like, he's great with Daredevil because they're two polar opposites, right?
Yeah. So, oh God, he made. Yeah. Oh yeah. That scene in Daredevil where he's
the first part of Daredevil was incredible. This season 2.
Was it episode 3? I'm sitting there, like 2 or 3, where I'm just bawling my eyes out, listening to Frank recount, the tale of what happened. That's honestly, like, season 1 got me with Daredevil, but that was the moment that I was like, yes, Daredevil is the best of the MCU series at that point.
Yeah.
Well, and I found, I finally finished. I don't know if you've heard this, Paul, but I finally finished Loki and What If, and really enjoyed them both.
Finally?
Yeah, I know. I got busy. It's not like I haven't had a life or anything.
I don't have a life. I still watched them.
I know, but
he's really been busy.
My life has been a little chaotic this year.
I know. Like, listen, I know it has been. I know.
What
do you think of What If? I'm curious.
I thought What If really did a good job at the element of the Watcher I thought was really good. I enjoyed douchebag Thor far more than I expected him to than I expected to. Ultron with the Infinity Stones was fun.
I like
And
that
being
Ultron
the
better
big
than the one in
bad.
the movie.
Yeah, I thought they did a great job with that. I thought the voice casting was really, really good. Animation was good. I'm kind of curious how they're going to bring that animation style to other shows on Disney Plus.
If I may go back to Spider-Man, because it kind of leads into from What If to this, is that people forget what's really fascinating, and I keep expecting for this to blow up for myself because I'm such a influencer on social media. But
Yeah.
I digress. No, but what's fascinating is that we got that a little announcement about Spider-Man freshman year.
Right.
And now, in light of the fact that we don't even know where Ben Parker is, as far as Uncle Ben goes, was there even an Uncle Ben? I doubt there was even Uncle Ben at this point. Maybe he dies early on, and after he gets adopted by Ben and May. I wonder if maybe he leaves early, because he does have that line to Tony in Civil War. He says she's been through too much already. And so, you automatically think, well, that's, again, this is all retro now, because I think that was, they always were intended it to be Uncle Ben, same old, same old.
Sure.
But something happened where I think that with the whole Aunt May thing, which I'll get to that in a second too, but because I want to go off on that and see what you guys all you Spider-Man lovers like myself think about this. But anyway, what I'm wondering is if now going back with that line that he says that, it may be the reason why this version of Peter is a little more in line than the other versions, because obviously the Toby and the Andrews in the traditional 616, he kind of goes, I'm going to do my own thing and blah, 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 blah. And then something bad happens. Like, well, I can't do that anymore. Well, great power, whatever. They learn their lessons. With the difference with this, though, is that I wonder if Ben dies early, not because of Peter, but because of something else, and Peter still blames himself in some way, or there's that guilt already invested in him right now or at that time. So when he does get bitten by the radioactive spider, he has that good nature already embedded in him. He hasn't learned the lessons yet that we see him eventually learn in No Way Home, but you got to wonder if he sees that early on. So that guilt of like, if I do this, May will be upset. That's, again, I would love that. And I think that's what they're going to go with it.
I have a theory, and it ties into Hawkeye. Battle in New York.
Oh,
that's what kills Ben off.
People have been saying that for a long time, I think.
I didn't think about that. Wow.
Battle in New York. I think that something happens where Peter, and Ben are like out doing something, and the Chitauri show up, and that would explain his admiration for the Avengers and why he has them in such reverence beyond just, being a citizen of, the world at that point. I think that I think that's where you have that moment for Peter. I also think that May is going to say it to Ben, or Ben's going to say it to. Okay. Sorry, my wife walked in with a giant.
I don't want to know.
Bag of loot. For Christmas.
Loot.
Like Santa's bag worth of crap.
There's only 3 items in here.
Oh, okay. It is Christmas time.
It is crap. It is still
you
crap.
think it would be repetitive to have that?
Crap.
Go ahead.
To have Peter lose Ben in the Battle of New York when they just did that with Kate Bishop?
No, because I feel that it gives, because think about it, Kate Bishop and Peter are a similar age. So I think that
it's plausible.
Well, the reason why I think reason why I think maybe they're going to go that route is because I think Spider-Man's not done with the Avengers. It would make sense to me that if he would be leading some kind of Young Avengers team. I thought that was always a possibility because thinking about this, he has that experience now of being in a team, as we already pointed out in the movie in No Way Home. And
that was
now
one of the best lines.
Oh, it was great. It was
Who
great.
is that?
Right. Well, right. But
Are you
I mean,
in a band?
But that was hilarious. I love Toby's expression, which I was not always in favor of Toby's acting in the movie. He was very inconsistent for me.
Dude, I'm telling you, Toby's the most underrated Spider-Man, even though he's the most hyped up, I think.
Agree, disagree.
Just watch this stuff, man. And Toby has there's some.
He has
stuff
the weirdest
going
voice
on there.
ever. Sorry,
well, the thing
his
is,
voice weirds me out.
what I'll tell you is that I was not really a fan of Holland's voice for the previous ones,
That's
but
fair.
this one was better.
Well,
yeah.
I'll say this too: if you ever played the video games with Toby as Spider-Man, it's better because he emotes more in the video games, and I felt like he was able to emote more here too.
Yeah, I love what he's like. That's great. What is that?
Yes.
That was good. That was good.
Yeah.
Dude, Toby and Andrew both on fire. Awesome performances.
The performances across the board were great.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody brought their A game.
What I want to say again, because I said this earlier, I think like those scenes were very indulgent, but that's which I'm kind of like, okay, like I like it a lot, but it seems like it's almost going a little too long. But we're not having this again for a long time, so it's like, okay, let's eat good, everybody. You know,
Right.
Yeah,
but
somebody
but,
was
I mean,
somebody was like,
it's a joy to watch all that, but I do think it was a little. They laid it on a bit thick, but it's fine because this is the comic book movie event to rival Endgame now, pretty much.
Yeah, it's the Spider-Verse Endgame.
Yep.
It really is,
Yeah.
and that's where Greg, you got a point.
I have a theory about where this is all going eventually. I think the next Infinity War Endgame event is going to be a take on Secret War. It's going to be Battle World because all this multiverse stuff is going to come together with one world under the rule of Doctor Doom because we know Doom is coming. We know it's going to happen. And
Dude, I am
be an answer there again too.
I am down for a power struggle between Kang the Conqueror and Doctor Doom. Like I am in, like Flynn, for a power struggle between those two characters because because they're so freaking good at this. The casting of Doom is the most important casting.
Yes.
For any villain other than Kang right now. They've already done it.
You're not just going to cast some guy from Charmed.
Truth be told, looking back on it now, I didn't have a problem with it then because he played a villain so well on Charmed.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, he can play the villain well. Like this guy can be a villain with the right script. The problem was he never got the right script.
Yeah, when you have the Thing and Doctor Doom like in a diner, like eating, like and he's like, "Whoa, Ben, let me tell you about this," and I'm just like, "What the?" I'm like, people give shit to Roger Corman's Fantastic Four movie, which is ridiculous because that movie's way better than any Fantastic Four movie, and I say that with a straight face because I love that movie legitimately.
It's a good. Okay,
it's a great Fantastic Four movie, but when you have Tim Story be like, I know, let's have Ben Grimm and Dr. Doom have a talk in the middle of Yancey Street at a diner in the middle of the night. It's like, what are you thinking? It's like, come on.
Okay, Vigman, I got a question. You're one of our paid.
Really active his eyes, who will mind wearing a mask most of the time, save for flashbacks.
So question for Vinkman and Greg, because you guys are two Patreon subscribers. Us doing commentaries of the Fox, Sony, Marvel universe. Us going through and watching like the Fantastic Four films, maybe even the Roger Corman film, and doing a commentary. Would that be something you guys would be interested in seeing in 2022?
Well, as a participant on the site, which I feel makes it unfair to ask me, I would say I'd be happy to participate.
Venkman?
I would be happy to see that or hear that.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll have to do that.
So speaking of the video game, I want to also bring this up. I brought this up on our 4-hour podcast on the MC Fan Show. Thank you. One of the things that I wanted to ask you guys about is Aunt May, and this is where I want to kind of go back to. Sorry, all that soda stuff. I think I'm kind of sick right now. I haven't ate anything all day, and I've been taking ibuprofen. I might have Unicron, and I'm not sure. By the way, I said it wrong on purpose. By the way, I don't know.
He's over there. He's over there.
Yeah, I know. I heard. But my question is
Starscream.
My question is this to you guys, because I do think that there was a change in this movie for Aunt May specifically, which I was very thankful for, because I feel they wasted Marissa Tomei a little bit. She's a phenomenal actress.
100%.
She looks fun. I mean, she's fucking beautiful. Let's be real. I mean, I'm not going to deny that. And they had her be that. I did like the fact they played her off as a hot aunt, as like these polar opposite of what we always anticipate Aunt May. But the one thing we got in this movie was a departure from what we had before. She had way more of it to do, and it had a lot more like oomph to like what her character in helping Peter, instead of just being like happy so with all that said, there's a lot obviously with the influence on the video game, and I'm wondering if maybe the video game may have influenced the movie so much to a point where they said, now, no, let's give the great power line to Aunt May, because the video game kind of showed you how powerful Aunt May still can be. We all know how powerful she can be as far as impact on Peter, but I think as the MCU Sony people were kind of like, they kind of realized, well, we have a great actress. Let's give her something to do for once and give her some, some umph here.
I think so.
And
Instead of just making jokes that she's hot.
Right. Well, she is, but I ain't gonna lie. But I mean, whatever.
The problem
we digress.
Yeah.
But when that was one of my biggest gripes about Homecoming was Aunt May was basically a punchline through most of that film. And yes, she did the whole, help Peter get dressed up, help Peter learn to dance.
Which really nice. I love all that stuff.
Nice.
That was good. But when 25% of that film is Aunt May's hot jokes, and the first time we see Aunt May with Tony, Tony is like sliding up in those DMs. It's kind of like one of those things where it's like, okay, I get it, but at least with with Far From Home, her knowing about Spider-Man worked, doing the feast stuff, doing the charity stuff, giving her a role. I thought her role was criminally underdone in that film and in both of those films. So for them to finally do that here, and I know purists will say, well, it's Aunt May. You're saying the line.
I
don't care who says the
line. Like I said at the top, Uncle Ben didn't say it.
Amen.
That was a retcon thing.
Amen.
It was the lesson at the end of. It was the lesson at the end of Amazing Fantasy
narration
15 that the narrator said.
Yeah.
Uncle Ben never said it. That got retconned, which it's a good retcon. It's led to, okay, this is kind of where Peter got some of his moral code,
right.
His moral center. And it's shown well. It's done well in the Raimi films. It's done decently in the web films. But because we had hints that there was an Uncle Ben and that he's dead and it's maybe Peter's fault in Civil War. I said this earlier, but we don't know if he told Peter this. And so because we haven't said that, it's totally fine for Aunt May to say it. And the icing on the cake for I guess the purists is the fact that it's the original line as spoken through the narration of the final panel of the Spider-Man story in Amazing Fantasy 15. So, and it makes sense for Aunt May to say it because Aunt May is another person that we've seen Peter gets a lot of his moral character from.
Yep.
So
that was before you jumped in. My point was, I don't care who effing says it. The fact that the line is being said, it is the mantra, the core of the character.
What if Iron Man said it?
I don't care. Listen, I get there.
Dude, yeah, I got you. I got you.
Paul,
No,
if
hang
Iron
on.
Man said it, if Iron
It
Man
needs to be-
said it, there would
God,
be
if he
riots.
said that,
There would be riots if
God,
Iron Man said it to him.
Here's the thing,
Tony
though.
said
I disagree
that,
with
I
that.
think
I disagree with that. Here's why. Because if you're going to set Tony up on this pedestal within the universe, and if we are saying that this Spider-Man, like you talked about before, Paul, when you first came on, this is a Spider-Man where the foundational piece of the Marvel universe is not Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
It's not Spider-Man. It's the Avengers.
It's Iron Man. Yeah.
It's Iron
It's
Man.
Iron Man.
Yeah, it's Iron Man.
Okay, I understand that. I could understand it coming from his mouth. But the fact that we finally got it, I would have loved for Aunt May to have said it in Homecoming.
It wouldn't have, but you know what? But see, I disagree. I wouldn't have liked
the
that.
impact of it being said here, I agree with you. Because I think I know where you're going here. The fact that it was impactful right before she dies and having that parallel. I've always said that if Aunt May doesn't know, there's no reason for Aunt May to be alive at a certain point in the comic publishing history. Like, I get that Aunt May is the living embodiment of what was left behind with Ben's death. I understand that. I know it's kind of sacrilege for a lot of people for me to be going, Aunt May's the bat is better off dead. I have been on record particularly on Crawl Space saying that I don't like Aunt May in general because she is so often one note. She's on death's door. She's doing all these things that the fact that they gave her a function here and they gave her a death scene that is so impactful.
Yep.
That this character had a light character arc. It wasn't a huge character arc, but there was a light character arc throughout the entire part of the films because she obviously didn't appear in, this was a 4-film character arc. Yeah. And I love that you got the bouncing off of with the Peters and with Toby, Uncle Ben, with Andrew, it's Gwen because that's so much of the forefront of his mind because of when he's plucked out of this. The line where he's like, I stopped pulling my punches.
Yep.
Yeah. And with Toby, I was more angry. The fact that we got closure on these two universes, was not something that I thought I needed until I started watching the film, and I was like, "Oh God, yeah." You get closure because yes, if they do other films, great, fine.
But this is good enough.
I'm there. I am all for it. If they're written well and they're done well, I'm all for it. But I will say this: I got the closure I never thought I needed with Toby, and I think the reason that so many people are so all up on the Andrew Garfield train is a lot of people emotionally got invested in that, and then they never got that closure.
Yeah.
Paul.
Yeah.
And also because Andrew Garfield's a phenomenal actor, and he should he should have a quality movie to end on in some way because the guy deserves it. The guy's a good actor.
He's an amazing actor.
Yeah, and so I think he deserves some kind of send off, and I and because everyone is just now remembering what he was before Amazing Spider-Man came out, the movie. That amazing, no pun intended, San Diego Comic-Con thing where he walks up to the microphone and it's a very heartfelt thing, and he's talking about he's in that really crappy Spider-Man costume. It's he loves the character, and he got caught up in Sony trying to manipulate, we got to reboot Spider-Man because whatever.
And the Sony emails are heartbreaking when you read about that stuff.
Right. So I feel like you could tell he has some affinity for the character still. He came back. I mean, obviously money talks, but I mean, he came back, and
he came back for $5. I mean,
I agree
between
with
the two, he came back for a
But-
cheeseburger and a shake.
But he started his stock is rising in this acting period
Yeah.
right now, right?
Yeah.
So
He may get an Oscar for that Tammy Faye movie.
yeah, and I need to see it because I need it because I have I have a history with those, not with those people specifically, but Christianity, commercialism, all that stuff.
That's sect of Christianity.
Exactly. So with all that said, I feel that he is going to be it's going to be harder and harder for him to be to maybe commit to one of these things because he'll want to do other projects. But I feel like if they want to do it now, they got to do it now. They have to say, listen. But I don't think. But here's what I think what could happen. I don't think we're going to get an Andrew Garfield like ASM 3. I think we're going to get some kind of, not like a Spider-Verse, but a Venom, something like that, where he can go in and kind of have a little bit more, hey, let's, because but at the same time, as I'm reading right now, Andrew Garfield's getting like closure at ASM 3 is trending. And if he did get his own film, put him with a director and a writer that he's, make him a producer, that he's like a Tom Hardy, where he's like in charge of like the story, where he's directing where he wants it to go. I think I don't know. I don't think he says no to that if they give it to him.
I think it's a license to print money, and right now Sony is. Look, Morbius is not going to make the money that it needs to make.
I disagree. I think it might. I think it just might. It'll make. I'm excited for Morbius. I think it looks good. I'll be honest. I think it's sweet.
We'll review it on the show. I will watch it opening weekend. We'll have a Morbius review.
Here's a question for Andrew Garfield. Going back to what about Andrew Garfield. Did you guys really like me? And every time, for the record too, every time I watched this movie, I get more emotional as I watch it. I wasn't as emotional the first time I watched the movie.
I need to see it again.
I've seen it 3 times, and I have been emotional. I get more emotionally invested in it. Like I get emotional when I watch it. Like when they're all swinging together, after they decide to work as a team and they start running and they get they jump off and they're all yelling together. I get it's weird. I get emotional there.
I need a screen cap of that tomorrow.
But the one I tear up, and I'm not like one of those people who I tear up. I tear up every once in a while in films. I tear up every time when he saves Zendaya. Every time when he saves her and he's looking at her and he's got tears in his eyes and he says, "Are you okay?" And she says, "Yeah." And she realizes he starts crying. He's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Yeah." Honestly, I literally I start tearing up every single time.
I made the joke on Twitter, not like Gwen, but because wow. I mean that was okay. That's a Clone Saga Chronicles joke, okay? I'm whatever. But no, I don't think I even want to hear you. Anyway, like I say, for me, that was a moment, and if Sarah were still in the room, Sarah got real emotional at that point because it's his greatest failure. All the villains got closure, but equally and most importantly, the Spideys got closure. Now, the one that probably got the least amount was Toby, but
he already had closure though.
But the comedy though
didn't need too much.
He didn't need anything.
Right. But the comedy bit where
the ending of Spider-Man 3 is not that's
it's a melancholy ending.
Part. Yeah. But it's hopeful, I think, in its melancholiness.
Hopeful melancholiness. But no, the line where he's like,
it's good.
I've been stabbed a lot.
Yeah, dude, that was amazing. That was incredible. I'm telling you,
Sarah was like, if they kill Toby. Sarah literally looks at me and goes, "If they kill off Toby, I'm walking out."
I have to go. I have my Hawkeye podcast to jump on here. We've spent 4 hours talking about Spider-Man the other day, but we haven't done our Hawkeye show yet, which is going to be that. If you guys haven't been watching Hawkeye, this 5th episode, again, the reveal at the end, if you know about it already, is whatever. Which is still incredible. I love it, but the whole episode is phenomenal. The opening part is amazing. So it's gonna be crazy. Before I go, I want to say thank you, Zach, and nice meeting you, Adam, today. I hope to see you on the show again sometime soon. And but really quickly, I just it's crazy what we've gotten from all of this, and I've just been No Way Home is the movie that I'm really glad that it got people that it's unified fandom in some ways, and I think that we can close the book on Iron Man Jr. I feel that Spider-Man is now, and obviously we know at the end of the movie there's the reveal of he's by himself, no one knows who he is, which again was so brilliant. But
it's fascinating. It's a fascinating ending.
Yeah,
it was but
We're definitely going to go into that more here in a minute. But
so many possibilities are open.
But one thing I have to say is that I think that without having the journey before, and that includes Homecoming, that includes Civil War, that includes and I'm again, I'm not the biggest No Way Home guy. Homecoming is one of my favorite Spider-Man films ever. I love that movie to death. No Way Home is it's messy.
Far from home.
I'm sorry, Far From Home. Far From Home. And but all that being said, we had to go on a journey as learning through through Tony and everything, and think about this too. If he had, Tony's a part of his transformation of getting to that point of learning and with May and things like that. It's all important for this character, and I feel like without having that and just getting that, at the end of Homecoming, let's say, it just wouldn't feel earned. It feels even more impactful having gone through 3 films of him being blipped for 5 years. There's a lot of weight at this end of this movie, but that you wouldn't have that if you didn't have Far From Home, or excuse me, No Way Home, Far From Home, Homecoming, the Civil War movies, all that stuff. Like, we wouldn't have that. It wouldn't have that weight with it. So it's like, I want people who don't like having Iron Man a part of things or whatever, I want them to realize, if you don't have those previous things and having all the things he learned with, you wouldn't have, I don't think, the same weight, the same impactful moment of him making that sacrifice at the end when he says, I want everyone to forget me. Because he makes the ultimate play of, with my great power, I'm going to take the responsibility of what I did, and I'm going to sacrifice the love of my life, my best friend, and all the people that know that I'm a hero, that I respect. They're going to not remember me, and I'm going to take it, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to go forward. That is Spider-Man to the core. And if you don't have the previous films, and I think the previous relationships of the other heroes, you don't have that weight. That whole spell that Doctor Strange has, it's cool, but it doesn't have the real gut punch that we get in this movie. So to me, like, this is a great iteration of the character. It's not the only iteration of the character we'll get. I don't think it will ever be, and it shouldn't be the only one we get. It's just one of the many, and think about this. This is a generation Spider-Man that we will have to, we all get older here, we're gonna have to accept and realize that maybe everyone's iteration of Spider-Man is gonna be a lot different. And there's no problem with that, as long as it keeps that, what we talked about with Zach before, as long as it has that sense of sacrifice. With great power comes great responsibility. As long as that's the essence of the character. Yeah. Thank you. But but that's the whole. But that's my point, though. As long as that's all the essence of the character, and again, the key is not the phrase. It's what the phrase means.
Exactly.
It's sacrifice.
Yep. That's why I don't get hung up on the words.
Yeah, I mean, think about this. Did frickin' what's his name? God, what's his name? God, the Uncle Ben from ASM. Did he say it?
Martin
Sheen.
Sheen.
Yeah, Martin Sheen. Yeah. Did he say verbatim with great power?
He did not.
He said some weird iteration of it. So
he said you have a moral obligation to do those things if you can, more or less.
He goes, a responsibility. He says a responsibility. So anyway, I gotta go.
All right.
See you guys.
We'll see you next year up on the Spideydude Experience. Radak, if you want to be on the call, send me a DM on Facebook and I'll add you in. I said, damn, I missed it, got off the shift late, even wanted to be on the call. But I do put this movie highly, a celebration of. Well, Radiac, if you want to be on, let us know. I'm gonna jump over to the rankings now.
Before we do that, I have a point that I want to make, because, especially based on what Paul was saying, you know what? If we had to have one, and I know this is a cliche at this point, if we had to have one more day in the comics, this is what it should have been. It shouldn't have been him sacrificing his marriage to save his aunt's life, even when she said, "Let me go." It should have been something like the world was in danger, reality was breaking down. Maybe it is Doctor Strange instead of Mephisto and Peter and MJ making this decision together that will wipe out their relationship.
Fact
because that sacrifice is an act of heroism. It's not an act of selfishness, which is what they did in One More Day.
Yeah.
Yes, through the page's Facebook, Radiac. But there is somebody that I have been begging and hoping he would be on and make an appearance on the show. And if you are a longtime fan of our programs here on the Spideydude Radio Network, particularly with Clone Saga Chronicles, ladies and gentlemen, adding to the stream from Questions We Do Not Have Answers podcast,
Don!
Donovan Morgan Grant, welcome to the show. He is driving, so I'm not going to kill him and keep him on full screen the whole time. But Don, welcome to the program, my friend.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes. We can hear you just fine.
All right, excellent. Who we have? I mean, I hear Zach. I see it's a full house. Who's in the studio?
So we got in studio right now. We have Greg XB. We've got myself. We've got cool youth pastor Adam Shingle. I don't know if you know him, Donovan. We also have our Patreon patron, Vinkman.
Hey,
welcome. And we got.
I know Vinkman from social media.
Yeah, social media. Yeah. And then Adam S, FSU Spider fan, also part of the program right now. Though, poor Adam, your internet's been kind of bugging out, hadn't it?
Yeah, it just keeps going where there's no sound, and I have to log out to be able to get
there.
So if you guys if you have issues, you can always call the voicemail line too, or Radiac as well. If you can't get through on and let me try to figure that out. If you've DM'd me on Book of Faces, make sure. So.
Zach is doing that. Donovan, great to see you.
Yeah, Donovan, give us your thoughts overall on the film. What did you think about it?
Well, boy, I mean, how long you guys been going? Because I'm sure this might be redundant.
No, listen, you're such a treasured part of this program. It's history. Nice. I've been dying to hear yours, and I've heard Josh's thoughts offline, but not online. So. Just give us your overall thoughts. That's what we're letting everybody do. We're letting everybody talk about, everybody that's called in. We've had several people come and go. Tyler Crone was on here earlier. We had Hobby and his son Jack. They've come and gone. Paul Herman, my regular co-host on Spideydude Experience, was on here too. So we're kind of letting everybody kind of come in and out and let them kind of give their thoughts and opinions. So go ahead and you have the floor, my man.
I absolutely loved Spider-Man No Way Home. And it was a particular shock because I was really left cold with Far From Home. Even going into that one, kind of with the trepidations, I left particularly salty. And so when it came down to the final trailer, where the internet was really doing their best Zapruder film and trying to find Toby and Andrew in the trailer footage, I was like, this could either go really good or really bad. It was a real coin toss of a chance. And the first hour is kind of MCU by number. There's a lot of tedious requisite humor. But it didn't really get me down. I was just kind of withstanding it. But halfway through the film, I've been saying this, it's like the fundamental essence of Spider-Man that I recognize kind of pulled itself out from out from Tom Holland's franchise, like Peter from the grave site in Kraven's Last Hunt, and just pulled himself through. And it was it just forced itself to be I know it's dark in here. It just forced itself to be a particular Spider-Man movie that I honestly to hit on so many levels. It touched me in ways that a woman never has. And I was just very, I was just very, very, very surprised and very exhilarated. And right now, I mean, it's honestly in the conversation for me, possibly being the best Spider-Man movie, just because there's so much mythology, but also so much
Mm-hmm.
hardline facts of the character that are illustrated in a way which I didn't think they understood. But I'm really happy for Tom Holland to be given the opportunity to play, like, for me, a much more representative Spider-Man. And I thought that, like, it's not perfect. By no means is it perfect, but at the same time, it's so good that it's at least in the top 4 for me, personally.
Yeah.
Yep.
Same.
Yep.
You know, we haven't gotten to that point where we're talking about like comparing it, you know, ranking wise. But you know, what's your grade if you had to give it a grade there, Don?
What scale are we going by?
Letter grades.
A+. I mean, like, it probably deserves a simple A because, like, you know, there's some annoying bits in the first hour. But part of the stuff that was annoying me, I kind of knew going into the trailer. So,
right.
And you know, there can be some like plot holes here or there. But I'm at kind of the age now where it's like, you know, did you enjoy it or not? And like that that second half is so good. I'm really not in the mood to try to justify my feelings intellectually. My emotions are where my emotions are at, and I love this movie. I love this movie, and I mean I've not come out of a Spider-Man film feeling this high on it since Spider-Man 2, like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's an A+, and I've not like sat down and worked the arithmetic on it, but like I think it is at least in the conversation for best Spider-Man movie ever. Like no cap.
Yeah, I completely agree that it's in that conversation. Absolutely. Speaking of, we were talking to him through the chat, but he is now on. Peter number 4, aka Radiac. Hello, Radiac. How you doing, man?
Hey guys.
Hey.
Welcome to the show, my man.
Yeah, I don't know how much time it is that I get, and also I might be repeating what other people said. But yeah, I mean, this movie to me like really reivindicates what Tom Holland's Spider-Man was to me. I didn't like him at all. Just the way that the MCU was trying to handle their own Peter wasn't really like what the heart of the character was. To what I fell in love with like for the last 20 years when I first saw Spider-Man in Raimi number 1. And in a very odd way, it made me kind of become a fan of this version. I really want to see what's going to happen after this one. I really want to see what's going to happen in the next trilogy moving forward. And one of the things that also has to be said is that this movie is like a celebration of Spider-Man. It's like an early gift for the upcoming 60th anniversary next year. And it's like up there to what other people might have seen with Endgame. I never really got into the MCU, but I mean, 20 years of it feels like the final cap on the first trilogy of Raimi, the series with Amazing 1 and 2, and this one. So it's like obviously they never thought about this story like 20 years ago, but it feels like it's a very natural way to put an end, like a ribbon on top, this perfect movie to me. Obviously there's like plot holes. I'm still living on the hype, but I mean there's something to be said that this movie I was expecting it to be just like pure fan service. I was only gonna see it because of Toby, which is like my main Spider-Man in the movies, and how they integrated like the story in the movie itself. It didn't really feel like it was forced at all, at least like in my opinion. And that to me is like, you know, unbelievable. It could have been like, you know, a train wreck of a movie by pleasing everybody and doing nothing at the same time. And one of the other surprising aspects of it was how they also made Andrew Garfield like one of, at least like in comparison to all of them, like the most emotional one. Even though he had like the worst, shortest, like he had the worst experience, I assume, behind the scenes, especially as a fan. And I still remember, I'm like, you know, a ton of thoughts because I saw it again yesterday. But I still remember when he came up announcing the movie in Comic-Con as a Spider-Man, you know,
that was
in
brought
the
up
dress-up.
earlier. And how that would, as an and Donovan, you can jump in on this too. I and the rest of you guys as well. As an ambassador for the character, there was no better ambassador than Andrew Garfield. And I love what Tom Holland's done as an ambassador to the character. Don't misunderstand, but nobody like took the character of the three. Garfield took the ownership of and the responsibility, frankly, to use the pun, of being Spider-Man, and more seriously, I think, than anybody. Like Toby, it was just a job. But and I don't misunderstand. I think you could tell he enjoyed himself. You know, the Don. I mean, the lines of like when he's like, "I've been stabbed a couple of times. It's fine." You know, like that made me laugh out loud in the theater.
In his back, my back.
Yeah, the whole where he's cracking his back, man. Like that was hysterical.
That was
Look
kind
at
of
metal.
cool that like a lot of like the kind of the humor that the MCU has locked itself in. Honestly, once Toby and Andrew showed up and they were trading like scenes and quips and like gags with Tom Holland, to me it felt perfect because it was Spider-Man. It was literally Spider-Man trading jokes with Spider-Man, and none of that like sort of like varnish of this kind of humor. To me, it felt natural for the character rather than sort of like a requisite for the franchise. And it was cool because I wasn't loving it in the first hour with like Doctor Strange and Ned and stuff like that. But when like it was the three of them and they're kind of like messing with each other back and forth, I was like, this works like immediately. It just automatically works for these guys, and it was fun to see Toby trade gags with people because he wasn't always that fun.
Right.
Solemn than the other ones.
Yeah.
There was an earnestness that exists in the Raimi films that doesn't exist necessarily in the other sets. Also, the bits about them talking to Toby about the organic web shooters also marked me because I'm old enough to remember noorganicwebshooters.com.
Oh boy.
That from the late 90s, early 2000s, that was like the online fan petition to like because of the Cameron film introducing that concept. They're like, oh, they're doing that, and like there was like legitimate guys that were like pissed off, and there was like I say, it was a fan site, and eventually I think it morphed into superhero hype because it became they kind of started getting in the niche of
Spider-Man. It was Spider-Man hype, yeah.
Yeah,
and then it's Superman hype.
Yeah, and then superhero hype. Because they started like reporting on like the behind the scenes stuff. They had actually gotten sources. Around the horn, did the leaks diminish your enjoyment?
No.
Because I think that's probably the biggest con for this for me was that because I'm so ingrained with everything doing this show, like I get all the Spidey alerts. It's a blessing.
I mean, like like Toby and Andrew, that was the worst kept secret ever. Same thing with like Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock.
For like a year, right?
Yeah. I had no idea that Aunt May would die.
Right.
I had no idea that there would be a mind wipe at the end. I honestly thought this movie would end with everyone still knowing who he was. And I had no idea like that this would be such a concerted effort to be a Spider-Man movie, like in a really like visceral way. I just knew like stone cold facts, but not how they were. Like I knew Toby and Andrew would be in it. I thought that they'd be in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And the fact that they're in like the second half of the movie really keeps it a fresh experience. So I mean, it would have been like amazeballs if we did not know that was going to happen. But it may also have been distracting because like we would have been too dizzy over the fact that they were there to understand the character development that they distributed throughout the film. But at the same time, I mean, it would have been nice to not know, but it didn't ruin anything for me.
Radiac, your thoughts on that?
To me, I feel like I wouldn't have seen the movie otherwise if I didn't know what I was going to get myself into. Just because I've been burned by the first two, that I feel like if the third one was going to be exactly the same. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but I feel like the third movie script was already being talked about when the second one came out. It was going to be
Right.
Craven. He was going to be being hunted down across the world. Maybe Black Panther was going to be in it, something like that. And I was like, what would I want to watch that if I already wasn't sold on this Peter Parker? And knowing that Toby and Andrew were going to be in it, I said to myself, well, I mean, what are the odds? But then, you know, as the leaks started to come more and more prevalent, as close as we got to the screening of the movie, I said to myself, well, I'm going to see it because I will not be able to be online and not enjoy the movie. And I decided to, you know what, let me just watch it. And it was so odd going into the movie. And I said to myself, this is impossible that it's actually going to happen, even though I already knew that the leaks were actually real. And once I saw the portal that Ned opened, and both of them coming through, I said to myself, this is like unbelievable that they actually pulled it through. And throughout the movie, it felt like genuine, like every single actor was in it, not only for the money. I guess that was definitely a reason for them coming back, but in a way for them to, you know, sort of like put an end cap on each of their characters. I mean, Dafoe was going on interviews, and also Fred Molina were like both saying like, hey, this is like a new way for us to do the characters. And they never phoned it in. Like, no, not even Toby. I guess that he's obviously tired of being asked about the same role for like the last 2 decades.
Yeah,
and
but I also think he needs the money too. So like, let's be real. He hasn't done much in the last. I mean, he's done some films. He's not like he's not done anything. It's just that he's not done anything blockbuster. You know, yeah. We're
Well,
getting a lot of
he
feedback,
made
by the way,
$50
Don.
million off the first 3 movies, so I think he's doing all right.
Yeah, that's true.
I think he's like. I actually think that's why he's basically retired from acting and he mostly produces. Is, you know, I think he did the work and now he's reaping the benefits. So he kind of doesn't have to do it if he doesn't want to. Like, you know, he's got a family and, you know, there you go.
Got Spider-Girl.
Oh, but if I'll jump on the leaks ruin my enjoyment. I would say I think it made the first half a bit unbearable. Well, not unbearable. The first half is okay. I think the first half is not as strong as the second half. But but that anticipation, it's like, all right, when are Toby and Andrew going to show up? Like this is interesting. This is interesting. The whole how they're doing this is interesting, but where's the money shot here? And then we get Doc Ock through the portal, we get all the villains through the portal, and then especially it ramps up. The turning point is Aunt May's death. It becomes a totally different beast, and then Toby and Andrew come in, and we're going. Here we go. And yeah, so I mean, did the leaks ruin my enjoyment? Probably not, but it makes the anticipation a little insufferable, I guess, unbearable to get to that point. But that's not the film's fault, really. That's more of a, you know, it's a personal thing. But I do agree that the first half is kind of like the stuff with Happy is just not great, and
that's probably like the one area that I'm like the last scene with Happy is an entirely different story, but yeah,
that's better, I think. But the first half, there's good stuff in that portion, but it's kind of, it's hard to say. Basically, I read the first 2 reviews that I really read about it were that the first half is kind of isn't that great, but the second half makes up for it, and it makes the film messy but very substantial, and it just puts it on another level, and I think I agree with that.
Adam?
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, like I really enjoyed the movie, and I just can imagine I probably would have enjoyed it even a little bit more just if I had it been a surprise. But like Don said, there was still a lot of surprises there that I was not expecting. Like Aunt May, what happened to her was definitely not expected. You and just how much they gave to each character and how much time they devoted in giving them a character arc that made it significant. I mean, I was very surprised by that. So I think I don't say it took away from the enjoyment, but it might have amplified it more if there was a little bit more surprise to it. I mean, but maybe you'd be so distracted, like I can't even concentrate on the rest of this movie because this is all happening. So I don't know. Although one thing, when they all came together and they said, "I always wanted a brother, Zach, I thought of you." I'm like, Zach must be going crazy. This is like the Peter and Ben moment.
I'm not gonna lie, that's the part I got emotional at.
Aw.
Listen, when we finally do the last episode of CSC, I have scripted. I had to script a monologue, because I knew that the question I was going to ask not only the panel and Don, spoiler for when we do that episode, but because it's going to happen, especially next year. What does the Clone Saga mean to you?
We'll see about that.
What does the Clone Saga mean to you? And I'm going to get into that. That moment for me, though, in the film hit me hard. As a Ben Reilly fan, but as just a fan of these films too. And I'm like, for me and Donovan and I don't know how old Radiac is and I know how old Adam is. For all of us, all 20 years of Spider-Man, when I said this on Facebook, it is a celebration of Spidey on film, not just of the MCU, but of all the Spidey on film. And so, like, when they were talking about, and they kept saying this over and over, this is the end game for Spidey. It's because of that element of it ties all these films together. It is a conclusion of a story, but also that last 5 minutes where Peter goes and sees MJ and he's like having to make the choice of, do I tell her? No. Are we gonna get Empire State University now? Like the possibilities now are like, okay, he can't get into MIT, but he can get into Empire State.
That part was also consistent with Tobey Maguire's, where he had his first chance to be with Mary Jane in that, and he realized, no, I'm putting you in danger. I'm not going to do it. And in this one, he saw her cut, and he said, I can't put her in danger again. So I'm again sacrificing my chance to be with the person I love.
Right.
To riff on that, I think this movie, it's no question a celebration of the past 20 years of all of the films and what we've gotten there, everything and all that. But this feels to me like it's also a celebration of that very first Raimi film.
Right.
With the Goblin coming back and being such a big presence, with Peter sacrificing his, being with Mary Jane and taking the great power, great responsibility line to heart. It seems like it all circles back to that very first Raimi film.
Right. Which I think, in terms of origin stories, you can't go better. And I waffle between the first Raimi film and the second one in terms of being the greatest. Greg, your thoughts on what I was saying earlier?
Oh, it's definitely a celebration of everything that's come before in large ways and in small ways. I mean, that line, for example, with Tobey's Spider-Man talking about his back. Do you know what that's a callback to?
Yeah, his injury from Seabiscuit.
He faked an injury as a negotiation tactic on Spider-Man 2, and then they almost cast Jake Gyllenhaal. And
well, that wasn't a fake injury. He had a legit injury.
Yeah, he got injured on
Seabiscuit. I think it was from filming Seabiscuit. Hi guys, I'm back.
Hey Neil.
Hey,
but maybe he was faking that from Seabiscuit. I don't know.
No, I think it actually was a Seabiscuit injury, and I think they had to up his pay because at that point
his insurance had to be increased because of the injury, because it's actually affected. He got on painkillers, and I think that's also affected his personal life.
Right.
As a
But
result
there's a scene in
of-
Spider-Man 2 where he falls when he first gets his powers back, and
Yep.
he goes,
And he
"Ah,
says,
my
"My
Yeah,
bad,
and he like lands on a car and
Right. I mean
Ow.
the subtlety of the Easter eggs, and somebody was like griping him. I think it was who was it that shared that? It was the guy that used to write Green Lantern and Silver Surfer in the 90s.
not Jeffrey
Mars, I think.
Thorne. Oh, it was Ron Mars. Yeah.
Ron Mars. This guy was like, throwing this dissertation out there in temper tantrum about how Marvel has ruined cinema. You Spider fans and your Easter eggs, and you can't even go to the cinema and sit there and just enjoy. Like, shut up. Do you not have joy? I'm sorry.
I don't.
Have joy in life.
Can I just say?
Picture looked like he was miserable, for God's sake. At what point do you not just enjoy the people are like, I don't want to talk good things about No Way Home. Talk good things about No Way Home. It is a absolute it's absolutely
We've got two Dons. Hang on.
Yeah, we got two Dons. There's Don.
You cloned him.
Absolutely enjoy the ride. Let the ride.
World.
So I'm
the
one of
world
those.
needs as much joy as it can get.
And again, $260 million on a weekend during an active during COVID. Yeah,
So
I mean,
I
it's a
will.
miracle.
I will say, monetary success is not necessarily. It is no correlation equals causation argument for monetary success.
I understand that.
I'm just saying, if we measured by that metric, then Transformers 4 would be the greatest film of all time.
I mean, okay.
It isn't.
Listen, I understand what you're saying.
You're 18 years old. You're gonna do exactly what
But in the post-COVID environment, where there has not been a single film that in their opening weekend that has reached that level, that's what I'm talking about. Like the fact that there's not been a film in the last 2 years since COVID started that has even reached 100 million.
Didn't Fast
A
and Furious
standard,
7?
I might add, and I pointed this out on Twitter. A standard that started with the first Raimi film. The first Raimi film was what started the trend of $100+ million box office, and that did it over 3 days. Right? I'm old enough to remember my website crashing because we happened to capture screenshots from the trailers, and people were just going out and searching things for Raimi Spider-Man, and it killed my website. It killed it. Dead.
Well, I think this shows that Spider-Man is special. That he's just not just another Marvel character. There's something about him that rings true with everybody. Well, not everybody, but the majority of moviegoers. That there's something special about Spider-Man that stands out, and it's not just another Marvel movie. Even though almost all the Marvel movies for me are at least decent, if not really good, but.
Right. I enjoy most of the Marvel movies. They're always B+ to me for the most part. There's a few exceptions. Don, your thoughts on that? Have you jump in since you're on? If you can hear us.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you okay. There's a little popping, but I think it's when you're talking, you're fine.
You've got the floor, man.
I'm shutting up.
Okay, what was the question?
So, I'm going to go. The question for me is, for everybody, I'm going to go around the room and we'll kind of start winding things down and let everybody have their final thoughts. Where do you rank this on the scale? Just off the cuff. Like, where do you rank this in terms of Spider-Man movies? Is it number one?
I'll say this and then I'll head off because I think that there may be a lot of people in the room, and I've alluded to them anyway. So I think that the first two Raimi films are unimpeachable. I know there's a lot of memery going on with them, but they just are classic because they just nail Spider-Man style. Spider-Verse it sits at that table as well because they nailed the essential idea of Spider-Man in a way which I think a lot of people couldn't have predicted. Spider-Verse is
F in the chat, boys. I mean,
Uh-oh, it's cutting in and out on me, Don.
Don, come back.
Not like Gwen.
no. Hang on. Oh, I guess I'm in charge now. Okay, I'm solo.
Oh.
Okay.
Hi, Don.
I'll just wrap up by saying that like it's in my top 4. If you guys can hear that, I said it's in my top 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, we heard it. We just weren't sure if there was like a follow up to that.
Oh yeah, no. I'll head out. I just want to give my brief thought. I love this movie. It's one of the best they've ever done, and if it were the last one, I'd be very satisfied.
Same, actually.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, we know it's not going to because they make record amounts of money off of these films. So,
True.
But it's definitely a very good bookend to the last 20 years.
I think this is a great origin story film. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, kind of in the same way as Spider-Verse for Miles. That even though there was like all these other people in it, it was still pretty much a Tom Holland movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to. I have no idea what you guys talked about for the last 2 hours because I haven't been here. So can someone fill me in so I can offer something maybe unique?
Oh boy.
Wait, where did Zach go? Oh, there. Zach's still there. Okay.
I've been muted this whole time. I was saying goodbye to Dawn. And Dawn didn't hear it because I
think he was just like dead. Not like his whole thing was
his setup was having issues.
Yeah. Hi, Waylon.
Hi, wait.
Dude, I know you want to go to bed. Leave me alone. All right.
I want to talk about Spider-Man, you fucking dog.
It is bedtime.
Pictures of Spider-Man.
It is time for bed. So my dude, shut up.
Okay, so Zach, real quick, what did I miss? So maybe I can offer something unique.
We've covered. I think we've covered the. We've covered the cameos. We've covered the last bit. We had a big, impassioned part about great power, great responsibility. We also added Radiac. Hello, Radiac, Neil Radiac.
Hi, Radiac.
Which again, thank you for calling in too, Radiac. Your presence is appreciated. We've kind of gone through, the impact of the obviously Toby and Andrew, and we kind of touched a little bit on the elements about when he catches Gwen. You were there for a little bit of that, but everybody kind of got that moment. With Toby, it was like that back. Oh, my back. But also, we haven't mentioned this, but the moment with Ock and Toby saying "You've grown."
Yeah,
and they brought in the score, the classic Raimi score.
Yeah,
I was surprised by it. Did Danny Elfman didn't co-compose any of the score?
No,
did he?
that's just I saw it in the credits. They just I think used the
Michael
Giacchino. I think they used Danny Elfman's score, but he didn't come in. Like they just they threw the track in there for that point because it's in the music credits.
Yeah, post credit scene. Who was confused by Venom? Like what was the point of doing the Venom post credit scene and then doing the Venom post credit scene here? Like, what was the point of that?
I think it works because I think it works because I don't really like Tom Hardy's Venom that much, so it gives them a chance to just do the Black Costume Saga from scratch instead of having to rely on Amy Pascal playing ball on that one.
Yeah. That's
to me,
dude, I was the one guy in the theater when Pascal Pictures came out.
Oh god!
I literally groaned.
I groaned at the
I'll be honest,
Dan
that
Slott
one.
being in the special thanks.
Well, okay. I said
listen. I don't want to piss on Slot because that's just A, too fucking easy, and B, I'm not that other show. And I'm sorry. I'm not.
No, we're not.
wish that
can I offer maybe?
I wish
maybe,
that
Go ahead,
you go, Neil. Actually,
sorry, Neil.
Let me
Go
say
ahead.
this real quick. Just speaking of the special thanks, real quick. I kind of wish that Sam Raimi and Mark Webb were in the special thanks.
Yeah,
they should have been.
I assume they got like produced. Did they? They didn't get producer credits, I don't think, but I think they should have. Just considering the.
So.
Listen,
yeah, they should.
If now that Raimi's doing Doc Strange 2,
yeah,
the opportunity to do a Spider-Man 4, with Toby is there, and I think that
if they want to,
if they want to do it, if they want to, it's there because I think, and especially once Strange comes out, because I think that's gonna be just as big because you got all the Wanda fans and you got all the Spidey fans, and they're all ready to rip roaring and ready to go for Doctor Strange 2. I was really impressed by that. I felt like, and I told, and I wish Don was still here. I felt the way I felt after the post-credit scene, the same way I did in 2011 when we watched, when me and Don watched Captain America together, in San Diego. I felt that because they had the Avengers stinger, trailer post-credit scene in Captain America, and I felt the same way here with Doc Strange. That okay, I'm in. I am all in. What did you guys think about that post? Let's talk about the post-credit scenes in general. We'll start with our guest here, Peter number 4, aka Radiac 55.
Well, you said two things, but going first off the Venom one, to me, it's like such a redundant way of explaining why the symbiote suit is in the MCU version. You could have just explained that the other aliens, the Clintar, whichever way they want to explain it, are also there, and it just like crash lands the same way it did in Spider-Man 3. I feel like if it was just for that, it's like way too much of a redundancy to just have the symbiote come in such a convoluted way. I feel like if they really wanted to do it well, they could have done it with the supposed scrap way that Spider-Man 3 originally was going to have it, in which Jonah Jr. Was going to crash land New York City in a space shuttle, and that's where the symbiote was going to be attached to. They could have done it in that way rather than having two post-credit scenes for two different movies, and then just like coming in and out doing nothing really. I also touching to something that I actually really want to know what other people think about a supposed Spider-Man 4 or Amazing 3. In my opinion, this movie did so much good for those two other Spider-Men that I will be so happy if I never see them again. Because part of the reason was for them to be like a special moment. The only way that I would be fulfilled to see, for example, Toby again would be if he was the one that put in the backdoor pilot for a Mayday film, like Spider-Girl movie, or if she would show up in some shape or form, but I don't want him to be the main guy. I would be pretty good if he was a supporting character to his own Mayday. There's like some rumors going around that Andrew might be going on to be the Spider-Man for the Sonyverse or something of the sort. I feel like that's somewhat of an overkill in my opinion. I'll be pretty happy if he's just like good coming in and out for other type of stuff. But I'm pretty good where it's at. I know that I've talked too much and I'm sorry, but
you're
for
good.
Doctor Strange 2, I'm kind of excited to see what goes on in that movie. If we might see something going on with Spider-Man in that movie. I feel like it will be too much of an overkill because Doctor Strange is like already playing second fiddle in his own movie, kind of what happened in Civil War as well. But it's like, what can you do by this point? But I would be disappointed.
I think Marvel has proven that between this film and Civil War, because I felt Civil War, even though it was like an Avengers 2.5, it was still fundamentally a Captain America film. I think they've proven that they can handle large casts and balance it to where it's still going to be a Doctor Strange story in the MCU. And I think they've done a pretty good job about that. Greg, your thoughts? Go ahead. Who was jumping in? Was that Vinkman?
I was just going to say that
sorry, Adam.
The fact that Sam Raimi is the director of Doctor Strange, you got to have some Spidey element in it. Just you got to.
Well, I mean, it's honestly probably more likely they got him because he's a horror director first and foremost.
Yeah.
And they've really gone out of their way to build Doctor Strange 2 as like a horror-esque movie.
Right.
So I'm not sure they got him for.
But I also
think they got him for it. I just think it would be nice to have a little cameo just to have that aspect.
Well, I was expecting a Toby cameo more in that than this. So I'm pleasantly surprised. I will say this though. Also, there's a relationship between Feige and Raimi too that's pre-existing, given that Feige got his start as production assistant on the first film. So go ahead, Neil.
No, I was just gonna say I don't want it to just be a member of this situation where we do it simply for the sake of remember this guys.
Yeah.
Right.
That would be tacky.
That's fair.
Vinkman, your thoughts on that? On the post-credit scenes?
Well, I haven't seen Venom 2, so I don't I'm vaguely aware of that guy a moment, but I was kind of just scratching my head as to what was the point kind of overall, like what
I'd have rather they do a Morbius stinger personally.
Which to me, sorry to cut you off, Vegman, but in that one, I thought that in the post-credit scene for Venom 2, I only saw that one. I didn't see the whole movie, so maybe it's because of that. But it never made sense to me. Didn't the Venom symbiote recognize that version of Spider-Man and not just Spider-Man? Like he knew that was Tom Holland's Peter, rather than just Spider-Man in general. At least I got that vibe out of the character, that he recognized that he was that version. I know that some websites have already explained that symbiotes across the multiverse have a hive mind different from the comics and all that. But again, I feel like it was kind of for nothing, I guess.
Yeah, it was it's like you teased like you might have a Venom versus Spider-Man movie, but then you kind of just got rid of it. So it was like, well, what was the point of that then?
He did leave a drop of the symbiote there, and they can now say, hey, the symbiote came from another universe, so it's so technically alien to this world.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, there's a. Oh, go ahead. I was gonna say, I would almost rather like if they are gonna bring symbiotes into the MCU, I would rather like they introduce them sort of their own way rather than just, I guess the way they did it here.
I think it did a disservice to the movie to a certain extent, because I feel like it was random to have Venom just show up compared to the rest of the movie. And it felt like it was like, Sony getting their due of, we gotta cross promote our character. And I would have much rather the post credit be showing the characters that were blipped out of this universe, how they came back into their universes and where they were from.
Okay, Greg, your thoughts on it?
I didn't see either of the Venom movies. I mean, I had a chance to, but see it with Bertoni actually, but that didn't quite pan out, and I just didn't really have much interest. And as for the other post-credits sequence, well, I thought the episode of What If with the evil Doctor Strange is one of the best ones, so I'm really looking forward to seeing that element continue.
Agreed. Cool Youth Pastor?
I mean, the Venom one is just there. Whatever. Okay, cool. The symbiote's in the MCU now, officially, I guess. So that's cool. I hope they don't do this. I hope they don't give him the black suit
Right off the bat.
too soon. Yeah.
I
That
would
I
do it
kind
as
of
the
because I
second
wanted.
film in the trilogy if it were
Yeah,
me.
yeah. You can do that. Because I want to see more of this new suit for a whole movie.
Yeah.
The Doctor Strange thing. That was cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that. I do kind of wish that maybe we didn't get a trailer for that, and maybe we got a little something with one or two of the other Spider-Men, but
Yeah.
the Doctor Strange trailer makes sense. So
It
it's
makes
cool. I'll
it, ma-
see that eventually.
it makes more sense at least than the X-Men Days of Future Past trailer that they put in the end of Amazing
I was
Spider-Man
thinking
2.
that was the
Yeah.
first thing I thought of. That was the
That
first thing I
that
thought
that
of when I
that
saw that.
but that's also that was a payoff to basically pay
Yeah.
Fox to let them use
Yeah.
Mark Webb to get him out from under his contract. So I completely understand.
No, yeah, but at least here it's thematically relevant,
Right.
even if it's just like an ad. For me, I think my ideal Black Suit saga would be like have the first movie where we establish a new supporting cast in the new suit, which also, wasn't here to mention it, but it's a god tier costume. I think it's arguably the best costume we've gotten ever.
Yeah.
I just want some more.
My knee jerk reaction, but I gotta see it more.
Yeah, somebody made like a render on and it
Yeah.
was on Twitter, and I want to acknowledge them because I almost posted it up on our social medias, but I didn't I'm glad I didn't after I saw this.
I'm glad I did. I'm glad they caught everyone and said, "Hey, this isn't official, guys. This is just fan work."
I'm willing to bet we will see a Hot Toys figure of that Spider-Man suit within 6 months.
I'm surprised there's like no toys out of all the other villains in the stores right now.
I'm honestly
coming. It's coming.
I think that they were trying sorry, I didn't mean to solo that out. I think they were trying so hard to keep some of the stuff up under wraps, and as a result, there it is.
There it is.
That's the fan art right there, Adam.
The artist's name is K-Dog.
K-Dog, that's right. K-Dog, man, he did a really great job. For those that are listening to us on the audio version, and if you're this far in on the audio version,
well done.
God bless you.
Yeah.
But yeah, really great.
What year is it?
Oh, okay, all right. Meanwhile, so let me give an audio update right quick. The goal is while we're on break, I'm going to before I leave for a week, my goal is to work on getting all the audio up. Now, Man in the Chair we're going to get all the covers for Apple and Spotify done. Once we get that done, I've actually got them up on the website. So I'm probably going to put them all up on Patreon and like a Patreon dump at patreon.com/Spideydude Network. That's Patreon. And Venkman is a subscriber at patreon.com. Also, I got to get the episodes of Voices from the Area of Gargoyles podcast up. So that way they can, because we've got like 4 episodes, I think, in the can. 5 episodes in the can, Greg?
4
episodes in the can. So they've not been released to the public. So we'll get those up to the patrons as well. We'll go kind of around the horn a little bit, and then we'll start working on the outro. I have a very special song for longtime fans of the, but it's kind of apropos, and it's also going to make this demonetized this episode, and I don't care because I'm going to do it anyway. Longtime fans of like our network of shows. So, Greg, final thoughts.
I loved it. I didn't know I needed this. I was not prepared to love it as much as I did. I had a great time, and honestly, having been a Spider-Man fan for most of my life and having been part of the online Spider-Man community since around the time Civil War was coming out, I have not seen Spider fandom this united on anything in such a long time, and it really warms my cold heart.
He has a cold heart. All right, cool youth
I'm
pastor. your
kidding. I
final-
really don't. I really don't. I like to pretend I do, but no. It warms the heart. It's terrific to see people that I've disagreed with, argued with, sometimes even worse. I'm glad to hear that everyone is enjoying this.
All right, cool youth pastor.
Toby and Andrew give incredible performances in this thing, and Tom Holland isn't half bad either. Excited for the future. Many possibilities have opened up. It's a fun film. It's a top tier Spider-Man film, and I'm happy that we've all seen it. We've all loved it pretty much. We've all enjoyed it. We've all, like Greg said, and what Paul said, what we were all kind of saying is that the fandom is becoming united over this, and I think that, well, it's never a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's like Mandalorian for Star Wars.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adam S., FSU Spider fan, your final thoughts.
Great movie. Loved it. There's little tidbits that here and there that I wish there was more of, as far as when they go back to their own universes, seeing a little bit of that. Lizard's CGI wasn't great. He was probably my least favorite thing in the movie. It kind of threw me off every now and then I saw him. Thomas Hayden Church, I don't think people talk about him, but I think he did a great job.
He did a really good job.
I agree.
The bromance between him and Jamie. We haven't talked about Jamie Foxx and him enough. Like those three guys. We've talked about Dafoe and a little bit of Molina.
Yeah, I think Jamie Foxx was great. I mean, I love the revamp of his character and getting rid of the nerd aspect that just didn't work on the original. I was glad with Thomas Hayden Church that they finally showed him as a human being, and I was wondering, like, did they only get him in voice or what? But they did bring it back, and it made sense at that point because they're like, okay, well, he can't reconstitute himself into a human form anyways, and then when he got cured, it's back to human. So, and he was still wearing his striped shirt. That was perfect.
Yeah.
And Alfred Molina seemed to be having so much fun. Like I
want more Alfred. I want more villainous Alfred Molina. Like
I want villainous or heroic. It was both great. Like I really enjoyed that.
I was happy that they kept his redemption intact for that. I will say they had him help out in the end, and that was great. And it's funny because the whole like, oh, Peter, you're all grown up. It actually reminded me of Hook, kind of randomly.
We don't talk
Peter
about Hook.
Pan,
Yeah,
looks good.
Peter number 4, aka Radiac 55.
There's a lot to be said about a movie that makes it redeem its own character, which is Tom's version of Spider-Man. Made me care about what's going to happen in the future, and I'm really excited since a long time to be a Spider-Man fan. It's been pretty hard in the last couple decades. I mean, I've been only 26, but you know what I mean.
I get you.
It's been pretty rough, and for the first time in a long, long time, be it comics, cartoons, movies, what have you, to be excited again for a character that we all love, and I'm really happy that this one was like our end game for Spider-Man fans. That it was the moment for all of us to be like, damn, it feels really good, and I cannot even wait for what's gonna happen for this new trilogy, but also what else are they gonna do with the characters, and also for even Into the Spider-Verse or the sequel for next year. And yeah, I love the movie. Really made me excited again to be a Spider-Man fan.
Well, we'll do this again whenever Spider-Verse comes out, as well as we'll do a Morbius review. So, Venkman, your final thoughts, my man.
Well, I was surprised at how much I enjoyed it. The movie does have a lot of, as pointed out, the movie does have a lot of fan servicey elements in it, but it's fan service done right. It was done in the service of the story. It wasn't just like, hey, remember this? It wasn't like, I didn't have any moments, and this is a movie I enjoyed too. Like it wasn't like, say, there was like a couple moments in Ghostbusters Afterlife where it is a little like, Hey, spores, molds, and fungus. Hey, Twinkies. Hey, if you look in the background, there's the dancing toaster from Ghostbusters 2, things like that, where it wasn't like the movie stopped to have those moments. The fan service moments in No Way Home were done organically, and they were in service of telling the larger story, which there was a lot of, heart to,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Man in the chair.
Okay, so I think this film is not necessarily amazing, but it's a good film. I kind of wish they hadn't relied so much on the other universes to keep propelling Tom's character forward. I mentioned in the chat before I took off completely for D&D, like who your member of the
How
Sinister
was
Six would have been.
D&D?
It was the last session. I don't know. I don't care.
Is it the last session ever?
Yeah, it's the last session of that campaign.
Oh,
but I did nothing for the first hour.
Oh, okay. Well, there.
But I before I left, I put in the chat. I'm not sure if anyone saw it. Who your sixth member of the six would have been, and I kind of wish. Yeah. And I kind of wish they'd gone with, like, I don't know, they teased Scorpion.
Yeah.
Personally, I would have gone with Big Wheel, but we can always go.
I want Scorpion in a movie. That's what I want.
I think that in the slightly more grounded version of the MCU Spider-Man, I think Scorpion's going to be in there.
It's perfect, dude. You have Jonah. This Jonah is irredeemable.
We already have
that. Irredeemable. Like he'll make his own guy, which will be Scorpion, to take out the Spider Menace. This is it. We're doing it.
Yeah.
But
we did not mention J.K. Simmons, and he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he's great. But Venom was the sixth Sinister Six. He just was too drunk to get there.
I guess so.
I honestly think he just didn't care, and frankly, so did I. I don't care if he was there. But I think this film did a great job of wrapping up the Iron Boy saga. I'm glad Willem Dafoe made Iron Boy into a real Spider-Man. And this did a good job setting up a roadmap of sorts going forward. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to say more than I did before I left. They did good. I went in with no expectations, and they came out actually satisfied with what I got. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say. Yeah, let's get going.
I was trying to call it. There was somebody calling in. I do have a voicemail that I'm going to attach the audio version to the episode because we're way over on time. I did not expect this to be 3.5 hours. So if you try calling in,
you beat the other review.
The other guys.
I did. Not that I was looking to beat the other review or anything like that, but because you go check their review out over on their channel. But yeah, with that, I'm going to wrap up this episode. Thank you for watching. Thank you for participating at Spideydude Radio. You can follow me on Twitter, at Facebook, Spideydude Network on Facebook and Instagram as well. At Spideydude Radio Network on Facebook. The voicemail line once again was 818-925-6631. I tried answering the person that just called in, and I'm so sorry if you called in and it didn't work. I don't know what happened. You'll get a phone call from me here shortly. Thank you for listening, guys. Thank you to Vinkman and to Donovan, to Radiac, to Adam, to Tyler. Thank you guys for participating in the episode. You guys calling in really made this one a special one. Cannot wait for next year as we start going into 2022 with Spider-Man. We're going to be continuing on our look back at Beyond with the Ben Reilly as Spider-Man. That'll be wrapping up in March, so we got a few more months. The first quarter of 2022, we're going to be talking a lot about that. Be sure to be checking out, as mentioned, ASM Classics. with Jack and Don. Oh, I forgot to mention Jack and Javi. Thank you guys for you guys participating. So be sure to check that out over on Spideydude.com. Of course, I want to thank my wife for participating in this episode because she decided to, go see this movie with me, and she went along with me in the theater. Thank you to Greg, to Adam once again, and to the man in the chair himself, the producer of the episode, aka Neil Bogenreiter. Thank you guys all for your participation in this episode, the final episode of 2021. Here is to 2022. I'm Zach Joyner, your friendly neighborhood host, and as we end this episode, I do the classic ending. If you're a Clone Saga Chronicles fan, you know exactly what you're listening to right now.
Nice.